It's time for Intelligent Machines. Jeff Jarvis is here. Paris Martineau's back from vacation. And we've got one of my favorite people as a guest. A great thinker, moral philosopher, and a startup guy. Anil Dash is our guest. We'll interview him, then talk about all the latest AI news. A big Intelligent Machines is coming up next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Intelligent Machines, episode 828, recorded Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Stochastic Carrots. It's time for Intelligent Machines, the show we cover the latest in AI, robotics, and all the smart little doodads and doohickeys surrounding us everywhere we turn. Paris Martineau is here. She's back from vacation. I got to have dinner with her, though, while you were traveling on the West Coast.
I got to see inside the famous studio that Leo is recording from right now and meet his cat.
Did you meet the cat?
Delightful. Oh. I did meet the cat.
Yeah.
She allowed me to pet her, and I felt so important because of it.
Paris took some time off before she starts a new job, which we can't talk about yet, but will.
Yeah.
Maybe next week.
We shall. Next week. Indeed.
She's going to the CIA, but it's...
Yeah, needless to say, it's an excellent job in national intelligence. I mean, oh, God.
Oh, Leo, come on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Also with us, Mr. Jeff Jarvis, the emeritus professor of journalistic innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the State.
I love that we've bullied him into bringing this back.
Yeah. There was
City University.
It's just for that sake. That's the joy of it.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
He is now at Montclair State University in New Jersey, which is not a step down. It might sound it, but it's not.
No, it's not.
He's also professing at the State University of New York, Stony Brook. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
And the author of many books, of which you will see over his left shoulder, The Web We Weave being the latest, although the magazine's now out.
Now an audiobook.
Audible.com and other fine audio. I don't want to promote Audible anymore. I'm going to promote Libro.fm.
They were a fine early sponsor.
I would also recommend Libby, where you can listen to audiobooks from your library.
Yeah. Libro's nice because it gives 10% of your purchase or your subscription, 15% of your purchase, 10% of your subscription to your local bookstore. And our local bookstore, as many independent bookstores do, is suffering right now. They're closing their used book section. It's sad because Jeff took me to the Strand in New York City, and what a great used book section that has. And ours was similar, but gone, and they're even shutting down part of the store. So it's very sad.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm glad that I can spend the same amount of money that I spent with Audible and give some of it to my local bookstore. So let's introduce our guest, who is a longtime friend of the show. He used to be Gina Trapani's boss.
Well, she was my boss.
Oh, okay.
He's all of our bosses in some sense.
He is boss.
Anil Dash is here. He's recently left his regular job. You started a company called Glitch. I think Gina worked with you at Glitch, right?
Actually, no. She was always an advisor, but we had done a startup together, ThinkUp, and then right after that, I got to work with the team at Glitch, which was a community for building apps that got acquired by Fastly, the infrastructure company. And then after a couple of years there, I just left last month to figure out what I'm doing next.
Isn't that nice, though, to be able to spend time with friends and family? And you have kids?
It is.
And Mario Kart. And the new Mario Kart, as you mentioned in your blog.
That's right. We got a 14-year-old, and this is really the first time I've taken a break since before Gina and I did our company together. So
that's kind of a key time too. 14. It's nice to spend some time.
What are you thinking, Anil? What kind of vision do you have for yourself?
It's genuinely open. I mean, I think, before we sort of, got online here, Jeff, you and I were talking about sort of knowing each other for 25 years. And I think, this is one of those fertile moments that feels like back at the beginning of social media and blogging. And we're at, certainly that kind of inflection point with AI, but it's a little different in that I think in those days, it was very kind of bottoms up, like people were hacking together and building stuff. And this right now feels like people are trying to be sort of top down, like the money guys are trying to tell us this is what it's going to be. And I'm sort of curious to see what the hackers and the makers are building from the bottoms up. So that's really what I'm spending time doing, is like listening to the people who are the coders and the creators and the writers, and what do they say is cool.
Do you think you'll end up in some sort of AI thing?
I don't know, genuinely. I think I look at somebody like one of the people I've always respected is like Simon Willison, who's one of those like brilliant coders who just is every day out there writing code and writing on his blog. And I like, who are the people like that who are, and he's like my age. I'm like, who is the next generation version of that's making something? So just having the time to go out there and read and discover somebody who is new and doesn't have a agenda and is not like connected into the industry, and what are they saying is cool that they're just hacking on for the love of it. Like there's always somebody making stuff because they think it's cool and they think it's interesting, and not because somebody has said this is what we need you to build a business around. Like I just have always loved the people that make that stuff, and I think that's how we all connected many years ago, was just working on whatever was next and interesting. And so it's gotten harder, I think, to find those folks. There used to be much more places where you would just see what was kind of, buzzy organically.
This is going to sound stupid. That's what I specialize in. But does vibe coding open the door to that? Does it open people can make things they couldn't make before? Is that possible?
Yeah, I don't think that's stupid at all. I mean, I think in some ways, right? I think definitely I'm always in favor of anything that democratizes access, right? Anything that makes it easier, I think is great. And again, not to like I'm not one of those good old days people, but I definitely think one of the things about like the early days of blogging is it made it easier to put things online for a lot of people. Like you could write and now you could write and put it online. And for some people, I think their experience of vibe coding is that thing where it's like it got really hard for a long time to, even if you knew how to code, to do all the other steps to get your code onto a website or onto an app was like really hard. And so like vibe coding can bring that barrier down. But some of what people are saying vibe coding can do ain't necessarily so, right? Like they're sort of over promising of what it can do. So I think I'm a little
like what?
Trepidatious about some of the promises, but the spirit of, can we make these tools easier enough that somebody who has either fallen out of practice of coding or is not totally fluent in it can get the bar lowered or the gatekeepers out of the way to where they can make something on their own that before would have just been an idea. I think that's awesome. And if somebody feels empowered by that, I'm all over that.
People may not know what a great blogger and writer you are. I've always thought of you, and this is what we need. People like you, Simon Willison, Malik, who are both technical, who are enmeshed in the industry, but also can really communicate and write. And you've always been that way, which in fact makes you one of the thought leaders in this, because so few people can express themselves, let alone have deep thoughts. So one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show is because you've been writing a lot about AI of late.
Yeah.
What is your sense that, for me, I feel like AI, you should also read his blog for stories about Prince. And hey, good news. He's going to see Wu-Tang tonight for their last performance. So not at the Hammerstein Ballroom, but at Madison Square Garden. So you'll be there with a few Wu-Tang's friends.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, it seems to me that AI is one of the most exciting things, even though it's uncertain and the end game is unknown, to happen in technology that I can remember. And I've been covering this for 50 years.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple parts. I think one of the things that's important to understand, talking about 50 years, there is a half century of computer science research and focus on things that we could call machine learning or AI. Right?
I program in Common Lisp. I know all about it.
And I think that's really important for people to understand. Is like, this is not new, and anybody who tries to present it as if this is the beginning of history is probably fine. Right. And I think about like with Glitch, we had an incredible leader and community, engineer leader, Jen Schiffer, who sort of was our sort of voice of the community. And before she had led our community at Glitch, she was a professor teaching computer science and teaching, AI and machine learning. And so that's a career that you could have a decade ago or 2 decades ago. And that's something that is not new. And so I think that's one of those key things is anytime the conventional tech industry or Silicon Valley is sort of trying to get you to forget that there's a decade or 2 decades or 5 decades of history, they're trying to get over on you. Like, I think that's like a really key thing. And then the second part is, well, what can we learn from everything prior to LLMs that we can now apply to this domain? I think that's really, really key. And especially because LLMs have obviously incredible applications, incredible things they can do, things we could not do before. They're genuinely new in a lot of ways. And they have a lot of shortcomings. Like every other AI, approach or every other model is not as prone to hallucination, for example, is not as dependent on gathering data without consent.
That's why Stephen Wolfram said, don't give up on symbolic AI.
Exactly. I think there's all these other approaches. And so one of the things we have to ask is, why is there such a focus and an overinvestment in this one approach? Why is this being treated as the be-all, end-all?
But don't you think transformers and LLMs were a phase change? Were a huge...
It is a massive breakthrough.
Yeah.
But I think about, again, I think we're probably a sufficient vintage to recall late 80s, early 90s.
I remember 3 distinct AI winners. That's
yes.
why.
but take an analogy outside of software entirely. We had a inflection point in processing technology from complex instruction set to reduced instruction set.
Risks.
CISC to RISC, right? Which was the Intel x86 to the kind of ARM style processors. And this was a big debate for folks who weren't around then. There was a big debate, like you would have magazine covers back when magazines were a thing, about was Intel style processors going to win out, or were what came to be called ARM style processors going to win out? And people would debate, and then they're like, well, it's settled. Intel won. Windows and Intel won. This is what people would say around 2000 and the early 2000s. And ain't necessarily so. Right now, here we are 20 years later, and ARM won everywhere, right? The Apple processors won, and everything's got an ARM chip in it. So the battle shifted, but the key thing was there was this argument about what kind of chip architecture would win, and people were ready to throw away an entire approach based on like what they thought was efficient or what would use more. They were like, oh, well, who cares about how much power it uses? Why would that matter? Right? Like, who cares how much electricity a computer uses? Why would that, be relevant to anybody? Not imagining everybody would have a computer in their pocket. And so like the foundations of what is relevant to the market or what's there, like the conventional wisdom can shift very quickly. And I draw that analogy because I think we're sort of at that point where the LLMs are a phase change, and they are a breakthrough, and they are really important. And whenever anybody sort of says, throw away the prior 50 years of history, or don't think about a yes and approach where we take more than one together, like that's a thing that makes me skeptical, especially when the experts are sort of asking you to, that Wizard of Oz moment of like, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. If they're saying, don't pay attention to the fact that we indexed all this content without consent, and we don't care that the creators are upset, or don't pay any attention to the real environmental impacts of the power that we're using, or that there is this sort of cost. Like, that's a real concern. That's a legitimate concern. That's a valid thing for people to be, upset about or to reckon with. And so like, that doesn't mean that we don't like appreciate what the technology can do. I think the fact that like there should be a complicated answer is key. And that's the thing that I sort of keep coming back to, is like, let's complicate the answer and balance it. And I see very little of that in the industry advocacy. I think the people like you all who are very thoughtful about these things, I think are sort of reckoning with both parts of that. But I think a lot of the vendors who are selling this are sort of, they see any nuance as unacceptable levels of critique. And so that's where the hackers don't see it that way at all. I think hackers are like, I want to know the pluses and minuses of the system so I can balance it against everything else that I'm using. And I would love to give them a menu of options. Like, have a whole palette of options. Like, not just here's 5 different LLMs to choose from, but here's 50 different things, some of which are LLMs and some of which are other things. And how do we compose those all, assemble those all into as many different kinds of Lego blocks as possible?
What other uses of machine learning can be as near in consumer usage in mind?
I think there's a range. I think one of the reasons LLMs I think have captured everybody's imagination is the accessibility of the chatbot model, right? I think people love the sort of feeling of like, I'm typing this thing. But I think for hackers and builders, chat is a really inefficient interface. It's actually a terrible way to program or to build around. And so I think some of the other systems, the more conventional machine learning systems, like if you're going to build a spreadsheet, you can't build a formula around chatting to something, right? You want to say, like, what's this? Like, I want to add a number. And if you want the AI to say, like, go get a, what's the price of this stock today, or what's the weather in this area today? That is a thing that, many AI systems might be able to go retrieve for you in an intelligent way, but you don't want it to have a conversation when it comes back, right? Like, you don't want it to be this sort of long, convoluted response. You want to just give me the number. And I think that's the kind of thing that some of the other approaches might be more inclined to come back with. And especially, you do not want it to hallucinate the answer, right? And so I think some of the other more conventional machine learning tools might be better at that. Also, and actually, this is something that Simon Wilson is another one of these great examples. People have even done this with LLMs, where they've built test systems where they sort of say, even if you're prone to hallucination, we're going to run a software test against you and make sure the answer that comes back is something that's valid and is something that could plausibly be correct, so that we know it wasn't a hallucination. And I think those things are really key, because there's such like, consumers who are not fluent in this stuff are so inclined to trust it, right? I think of it like a really concrete example. My sister is a librarian, public librarian, which I love, and I'm very proud of her.
Wow.
Yeah, they do the most noble work. And, she talks about, like, the patrons of the library will Google, the hours that the library is open. And it says, oh, you're open until 8 p.m. on Mondays, which they are not. And then they're mad at the librarians, saying
it's their fault.
Why aren't you open until 8? Google said you're open until 8. You're only open until 5 tonight, right? And
but that's not AI. That's just Google.
Right.
Right.
But it shows the authority that Google has to them, right? And that now every librarian in America has to be an expert on SEO.
Right.
And go back and figure out how to change their website so that they can tell Google the right thing to do, right? That's pre-AI, right? You're right. Like, that is the pre-AI SEO. Now, it gets exponentially harder to say, now, how are we going to do two problems? One of which is, like, get the right information into Google, and then 2, get it into all these other systems that might hallucinate the answer, which you're like, well, how can I even possibly guess what it might make up about what it thinks my hours are?
You can't. We know that. That's one of the things that Timmy Gibru and Emily Bender were talking about in Stochastic Paris, was that there's an authority that these assume because they come from a computer, and most people who work with computers don't ascribe that much authority to them, but people who don't are going to give it a lot of weight. The computer says. And they've had, again, 50 years of, from when the first, Star Trek episodes came out. Well, the computer says this, it must be correct. And I don't blame them for that. They were sort of conditioned by culture to say that the computer answer is right. The computer's smarter than me. Like, they question themselves. HAL 9000 going rogue was such a big plot point because it was so unexpected. Yeah. Right. That's a dramatic twist. And so I think that's a thing where, like, I have no, sorry, my dog is trying to get on camera. I have no, criticisms for anybody who is, surprised by the fact the computer can be wrong, right? Like, I don't fault them for feeling tricked, or especially when Google has been, as far as they know, reliable to them, and now is using generative AI without them having changed anything. They didn't change any settings. They didn't push any buttons. They went to the same Google they've always gone to, and they typed in a search, and it looks a little different, but maybe not recognizably different to them. And all of a sudden, it is composing things in a way that they didn't expect. And, some PhD they've never met has it doing things a different way. And then the people on the other side, like I said, the librarians who are like, why is it making up our hours now, are saying, like, I don't even know how to fix that. Before, I could at least conceivably understand. I could look in the library for a book on SEO and teach myself the way to fix this conceivably. There was at least some theoretical mechanism of fixing it. And now even that is gone. And so
I don't think you're fixable. I mean, you're right, Neil. It's a really, really huge point that we started with a presumption of the accurate computer, and now we're in the age of approximate computing, and that's where we're going to stay. Whether it's machine learning and prediction machines, or whether it's quantum computing, it all becomes approximate and good enough.
And that's a social contract that has been broken, that we haven't had a dialogue about. There's been no consent around it. And this concept of consent I keep coming back to. And it's really been, to be very transparent, this has been one of the reasons why I sort of don't miss being a CEO of tech startups anymore, and why I sort of stepped away from that. Is a lot of my work and my roles and that stuff, when you're the founder or CEO, the thing you start every day with is the problem that nobody else in the company wanted to reckon with the day before. Right. And a lot of it is like, we need to change our terms of service. If it's not like, we have an HR problem or something, but hopefully it's not. But a lot of it is like, we have to change our terms of service. And every terms of service you've ever clicked I agree to without reading all basically says the same thing, which is we can change this unilaterally at any time without telling you. And what you agree to is we're going to continually move the goalposts. And that means there's no consent to anything. And even that we have kind of resigned ourselves to as users, right? But that's users. We know there was at least some quid pro quo. You were giving me a really good search engine in exchange for me getting the goalposts shifted all the time. At least I got good search, right? But now what we've gone even further on is, like, I have my website that I've been doing for 25 plus years. There's no consent in the other direction of what they're doing to my website, how it's being presented to the world, right? So it used to be that we had that, I'm sure you all have talked about this before, the robots.txt file, which is the permissions of what Google can do to my site. And I gave them permission to crawl my site because I wanted them to, it was, again, a quid pro quo. You bring me visitors and I give you content that people can discover, and there's a fair exchange. They changed the terms unilaterally of what it meant they could do. Now they can take content from my site and compose things onto Google that make content on their site. But that wasn't the deal when we started. But I can't appeal that. I can never undo it. And in my case, I have written, created, and researched things on my site that exist nowhere else on the internet. I know this for a fact, right? And I have searched for things on ChatGPT, on Google Gemini, on Claude, that I know I'm the only source on, and found it in their indexes.
Is this Prince stuff, or is this
other musical artists? But yes, yeah, exactly, right, and more obscure, right? Because that's sort of it. It's like, I know I can go to obscure musical research that I did over the last 20 plus years, where I'm like, I know I was the source, like, canonically. And so there is no credible way they can say we found it somewhere else or we synthesized it somewhere else. And so, like, I know for a fact that this is showing up in your synthesized results because of me. And I know when you show it on your site and somebody doesn't come to my site, that it is you having taken, and I don't care about the pages. Like, I don't have ads on my site. I care about the relationship with that person who cares about that content.
Isn't that the nature of, look, there's only 5 different stories. We're all just recasting those 5 different stories over and over again. That's human. It's
media.
It's everything we do is based on what we have absorbed in the past. Well, I might get ideas from your blogs. I often do, and may not credit you.
Well, I think there's a question of consent. There's also a big difference between the largest companies in the history of the world and somebody I've known for 25 years who's a person that I respect. Right?
Every time I hear that, it really ends up being a complaint about big tech.
Yes and no, right? I think this part of it. Also, like, there is no such thing as the technology industry, right? Like, tech doesn't mean anything.
Every company is a tech company in a way.
Right, nowadays, right. And also, like, we talk about, like, people talk about, like, FANG companies still, and I'm like, what the hell does Netscape, I'm dating myself, Netflix have to do?
This Mozilla, what is
that's
it
exactly,
all about?
That's how old my brain is. Netflix streaming a movie have to do with Apple selling me a laptop, right? Like, nothing, right? Like, they do some overlap in that they both stream movies. But the point is, like, the fundamental businesses that these companies are in are not related at all. And the economics of what they do are not related at all. Like, where they make their margins is completely unrelated. So, like, the every company makes tech, to your point, Paris. And I think the other part is, like, what they care about and where they're trying to, like, leverage things is very, very different. And so to the
I guess what I'm saying is it's monopolies, though. It's monopoly. It's
monopolies
that are
and
so
market
big that they're dominant, like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple. Those companies are so dominant they don't have to play by the same rules.
But also, we had a premise, and again, I say this as I have started multiple companies. I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars in VC. I've helped companies. I've been on the boards of multi-billion-dollar companies, and we had a premise that companies were supposed to be in competitive markets. We had a premise that markets were supposed to be transparent. We had a premise that there were laws they were meant to be accountable to. We had a premise that public markets had regulators. None of those things are true anymore.
Yeah.
None of those. And I mean this in a very literal way, right? Like and again, like I have been an accountable party for writing public filings for companies, right? Like I have been like on the hook for these things and been in the boardroom for these conversations, and sat across the boardroom table from the officers of these companies. And those used to be material considerations for these companies. And none of those things are true anymore. And so the premise by which there was accountability and responsiveness to these public considerations doesn't exist anymore. And they are acting accordingly. And it's sort of like, the substitute teacher didn't show up for the class. How are the kids acting?
Right. So, I mean, so in a way, that's the problem with AI is not that AI itself is problematic, but that the companies that are making it are not being held accountable for the products they're making.
And some of the people who are in charge of those companies are jerks.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
we've selected for it, right? Like, I mean, I think there are people that were trying to do, various degrees of right? Like, I think there's an interesting thing that happened in terms of like signaling, where like when they were still trying to create OpenAI to build ChatGPT years ago, they're like, we'll make it a nonprofit and that'll send a certain kind of signal. And then Anthropic, when they're doing Claude, is like, we'll make it a public benefit corporation that'll send a certain kind of signal. But the structure of incorporation only does so much. You have to want to do the right thing, right? Like you being a nonprofit doesn't mean you're not a grifter. Right. Like I can tell you, like I've been in the nonprofit world a long time too. And it's like, there's a lot of people getting over, and making money.
It might even attract grifters.
Yeah. Because like you have the halo, right. Of looking good.
And they're tax free.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to get ahead there. And so I think the key thing was like, they still at that time wanted to pretend to look good. Now there's the sort of vice signaling that they're all trying to do for each other. And they really like to show that they're the biggest villains. Right. Like that's the way that you sort of show, you're the transgressor. And that means that
does that explain Mecha Hitler and Grok going off the rails?
It's a big part of it. I mean, I definitely think one of the ways of showing that you have power amongst that cohort right now, and a lot of what they're doing is signaling for each other. Right. Like they're constantly, there's preening, like they're sort of peacocking for each other amongst this cohort of like a dozen of the biggest like tech tycoons. And again, like I've met most of these guys and unfortunately made a lot of money for a lot of them for a long time.
It's your fault.
And I'm not the most to blame.
That's
but
what
I
happened in the Gilded Age too, though, right? They were all playing for John Jacob Astor and J.P. Morgan.
For sure.
It was,
yeah. And they wanted to, they're preening and peacocking for each other. And so some of what they do in that performance now is, if I can be the most transgressive, I'm a bad boy. I mean, it's not any different than like 15-year-olds, right? That are sort of, doing little stunts and tricks for each other. And
if you're not accountable to your customer, you're not accountable to the market, you're not accountable to society, you're still going to want to impress somebody, and it's going to be your other fellow billionaires.
Right. Because after
oligarchs.
The first billion, it doesn't mean anything, right? Like there's no difference in quality of life between $10 billion and $50 billion.
Right.
Right. You're not like more planes. There isn't, you don't eat more in a day of your like, gold-plated caviar or whatever you're eating.
You just have a bigger TV in your bedroom, basically.
There isn't a bigger, like there's no more screen you can see. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I mean this in a very literal way. Like there's a few of these guys that I had still kept in touch with until they got their first billion. And, their kids would be about the same age. And the funny thing is, like, their kids don't get access to some super secret Legos that my kid doesn't have. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's the same Legos, and their kids are not happier. Yeah. And I would see like none of them.
They get better shrinks. The other kids.
They need them.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
And I don't mean this lightly. 0% of the guys I knew that became billionaires out of the cohort I was in, 0% of them are still with the spouse they had then.
Yeah.
Not one.
Well, you traded in one. You trade your spouse
not
in
one,
for your trophy
right?
wife. Yeah.
And what they tell themselves is, no, well, we grew apart because life got complicated and But like, you're like, now, what's my real answer? Like, would I give my wife up for $1 billion? Clearly, my answer is no. And clearly their answer is yes. Right. And they would never say it. Would they give their kids up, seeing their kids every day for $1 billion? And their answer demonstrably is yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's proof, right? It's proof. And like, obviously people have, complicated relationships and people split up for all kinds of good reasons. And like, there's life that happens, but it cannot statistically be the case that none of them could make it work.
Some of them have several wives.
Sure, exactly. Right. But that's the thing is like, you don't become a billionaire by accident. You have to have wanted it more than you wanted anything else in your life.
Yeah, that's
right.
And
what does that design for in your head is not sustaining relationships, not sustaining connection to the rest of the world.
You think they started with that or the temptation overtook them?
I think that's so here's the thing. I think people could want to certainly like, I want to be successful and I want to make enough money to be comfortable. And then you start to select out, right? Like I know people that made merely $100 million who still live on Earth. And exist, you know what I mean? And they're like, they go grocery shopping and they like act like people and they like, I can have dinner with them and they sound like a human. And I'm like, okay, great. Good for you. I'm happy for you. And like, they're still like recognizably normal. And like, that's still all the money in the world. I'm like, you have literally anything you could ever want. Right. And they're like, yeah, I'm good. And so like, it's interesting what that inflection point is. But if you were at that point and then you're like, no, I need to have 50 times this much. You're like, your brain's already broken.
That? Yeah.
What do you think is the difference between those people? What do you think separates the people who get the 100 million and are like, I'm going to retain some form of normalcy and be grounded to earth versus the people whose brain are fundamentally broken?
I wish I knew. I think there's a couple. I mean, I think it's like anything else. It's like your parents. You know what I mean? I think it's like how you were raised. It's who you're around. How isolated are you? What's your own neuroses and insecurities? Like it's just human stuff. Like we're all broken in our own way and whatever it is. And if somebody pushes your buttons the right way, but like I said, nobody becomes that wealthy by accident. The challenge now is like, I saw this where being a CEO of a venture-backed company, it almost selects for being psychotic. Right. Because the VCs and these things, they're like, here's what we want you to do and what you have to forego. And like a really concrete example is like, I really cared about providing good health insurance for my team. And, it's like prosaic stuff. Okay, we want Aetna or whatever, Cigna, and here's what we want to do. And we want to have this coverage for these things. And the reality is, when I screw up as a CEO, people lose their jobs. And when they lose their jobs, they lose their health insurance in America, right? Which is immoral. It's immoral that I get to choose whether people can get treated for cancer or have kids, right? And so if you're a person with a conscience, you feel like crap all the time, right? And
power.
Yeah, like
you're a sociopath.
When you feel like crap,
and
when you feel like crap, you have to also decide, do I want to continue to feel like crap and retain a conscience?
Right,
or do I want to turn inward and be like, actually, no, there's some other explanation.
Exactly,
and there's a reason why I shouldn't feel like crap.
And so there's an entire machinery built around, no, you shouldn't feel like crap. You are a brave and bold decision maker who has done the noble thing. And you are a truth teller. Right. And they are wrong for letting you down, and they caused you to have to do layoffs.
Right.
And it's their fault. And they don't deserve healthcare, and they're uppity, and you should punish them. Right. There's an entire machinery saying that in your ear. And do you choose to listen to that, or do you choose to hold on to your conscience? Is the fundamental reckoning we're in as a society, really. And then now who makes it through that filter is the people that are getting to have enough money to train an AI right now. Right. Because it's really, really expensive to train an AI.
Yeah.
Right. And I hate and I'm like trying to be preachy. I'm just like, literally, I've been through this because I'm like, part of why I want there to be less expensive AI models is so that we can have like just a thin layer of people who are not complete psychopaths can afford to build AIs too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the models leapfrog each other and end up all doing kind of the same thing. I think the interesting thing is going to be at the application layer.
Yes. Yeah. There's so many cool things to be built.
But now you see Meta, rumors are that Meta is not going to do open source Llama anymore.
Yeah.
And
because they hate people using it to train.
That's killing it at university because that's what we use now.
Yep.
Well, what's really terrifying is the notion that if we do, and it's a big if, get some sort of superintelligence, is that they will be controlled by people you just described, like the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musks of the world. And I mean, that's the real hazard. It's not the AIs that are the hazard. It's the people who are making them.
I mean, software has values baked into it, right? And we're all flawed. So it's always going to have bugs in that way, separate from the bugs in the software.
Right.
And the question is like, what are the values of the people that made the apps? And, that part of it is a big reckoning. And I don't fault like a normal consumer not understanding that is normal. Like you wouldn't think about that when you're like buying a phone. But I think those of us who are like into this stuff think about that a lot. And it's sort of fallen out of favor. We used to care about that stuff a lot, 10, 20, 30 years ago, where we really, it's funny because like we used to think like, Microsoft was the evil empire, right? And it's like, man, take me back to Windows 95, right? Like that's like, if that's as bad as it got, that would have been great. But I think now like the stakes are so much higher and people are so much busier that like thinking about like, I have to like download an app and then know about the weird philosophy of the dude who built it. No, I don't got time for that. And also it's a nightmare. Like these weird, esoteric things that they're focused on. Like I don't want normal people to have to think about that. I don't want non-tech nerds to have to think about that. But how do you distill that into something people can understand that's consumable? Like I think a very, recently, Aaron Swartz has been on my mind a lot, and he was a friend and really great at communicating a lot of these concepts so effectively. And in so many disciplines, right? So whether it was intellectual property or just like privacy or so many of these sort of concepts. And I think it's interesting because there's sort of been this mythology that's developed around him, since he passed. But I think he was really a pragmatist in so many ways. And so I think about like, who is a new young version of that? And part of it was he was born into a context where there was a community around him that cared about these things. And so he could rise to be a leader and a voice because a lot of people cared about these things. And if you are a teenager like he was when he started to do this work right now, where would you find a cohort of other people who care about this? I think it would be very hard. If you're like, I think I care about privacy and personal expression and all those other things. Like I'm on the board of the EFF. This is the things they fight for. And it's like, some of us here have some gray beards, right? There's way too many gray beards. It's a lot of dad energy, and it's like, we need a lot of like young people of like, different genders and different ages and different races coming in, representing this thing because it's so relevant to new folks, but they don't know it. And I'm like, shame on me. Like they can't find it anymore. Because what book would you read? They're not like finding some old middle-aged dad's blog, So like, that's what I'm trying to do is like figure out where's the place that's discoverable culturally for people who care about these things, but don't necessarily want to nerd out to say, I want to have good tech,
teach,
and
Neil,
find good
teach.
Apps.
What about
teach and
teaching?
create it? Yeah.
I think it has to be like maybe, but I feel like I've been thinking a lot about like Dua Lipa's podcast is amazing, right? And she does a great job interviewing authors, just super, super culturally fluent. Obviously, her music's amazing, her shows are great, but she's just super great at articulating really good cultural ideas. And she fought for controlling her master recordings and owning them. Right? Taylor Swift has obviously done an amazing job with Taylor's versions. They are incredible educators about intellectual property. They just don't know it. And so like they're teachers. They are teaching, like they are heirs to Aaron Swartz's work. They don't know it. And like they're living in a world that Aaron Swartz defined. And so like that part of like, how do we get them to see that they have articulated a position that is the solution to people being worried about is AI taking content without consent, right? Because lots of people can say, well, AI engines are stealing content. But the answer is artists have to own their work. And nobody has done more to say to advance the cultural conversation about artists owning their work than Taylor Swift saying Taylor's versions, right? So we have an entire generations growing up knowing that. That is the other part of the conversation about is AI working with consent.
But let me poke at that, Neil.
Please.
Hold on,
Aaron,
because we're long, and I need to.
Oh, sure.
So I'm going to give you a choice, Neil. We can wrap this up because we only asked for a half an hour of your time.
You got a concert to go to.
Sure.
40 minutes and Wu-Tang awaits. In which case we could wrap it up now, or we could take a break and come back. It's up to you. I don't want to overburden you.
I'm happy to go another 5-10 minutes if it's useful. I don't know if you want to put a button on it.
Jeff, can you hold your question?
Yeah, I can hold it. I can hold it.
Okay, we'll do a quick ad, and because I also want to thank you for your wonderful blog post. Wherever you get your podcast is a radical statement.
Oh, yeah.
Because as a podcaster, I'm a firm believer in that, and the Aaron Schwartz's RSS is what powers what we do, and it's a radical technology that has survived.
It really has.
Yeah, and I'm very glad for that. Actually, there is a cartoon that came out last week about RSS, and one of the things it says is that you may not know it, but you're using it every time you listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
Love that. Anil Dash is our guest. Somebody said in the Discord chat, one of our club members said, what distinguishes Anil is not about his ability to express, but rather he's effective at bringing a moral voice with a deep technical background.
Always thus.
And without preaching and assuming everyone he disagrees with is evil. So I agree.
I appreciate that. I mean, I aspire to that. I hope I'm doing justice to it.
I think you are. Anil Dash is our guest on Intelligent Machines. 5 more minutes with him before he's got to go see the Klan.
The Wu-Tang Clan, let's be specific.
That's a good point.
To be specific.
That's a very good point.
Very important distinction here.
Parentheses Wu-Tang.
Yes.
Before he sees the Tang. What do they call him? The Wu?
The Wu-Tang Clan.
The Wu is
Just
fine. Wu is fine for
WTC.
short. Wu-Tang is good.
Yeah, Wu-Tang. He's going to see The Last. They don't do a lot of concerts.
No, they've been out. I mean, the guys do shows solo a lot, but they haven't been together a lot. I mean, it's the band was.
Were you mad when Martin Shkreli bought the album?
Not even the top 10 list of things to be mad at that guy for, but sure.
It's one of them. He used his ill-gotten gains to do it.
Yeah. I mean, nothing could be more characteristic of the music industry than that guy owning
Right
one
there.
of their records.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. Yeah. Our show today brought to you by, I just got it, our brand new mattress. I have to say, I've been sneaking out in between the breaks and lying down on it. It's so nice. Did you know... it's brought to you by Helix Sleep. Did you know that you're supposed to replace your mattress every 6 to 10 years, depending on the mattress, how well it wears, whether you're wearing a hole in it in certain spots, that kind of thing. Your mattress is really a big part of your life. I know people say, well, I spend a third of my life asleep. No, more than that. Movie nights with your partner, morning cuddles with your kitty, your wind down ritual after a long day. It's all happening on your mattress. I would be willing to bet most of us spend more time on our mattress than anywhere else. And the mattress can torture you. A bad mattress, you could be waking up sweating, too hot, or your back's killing you, or your partner's tossing and turning. I'm the tosser and turner in our family, and my poor wife has to put up with the bounces. It's a classic mattress nightmare. Well, Helix Sleep changes everything. This mattress, it's like sleeping on a cloud. No more night sweats, no back pain, no motion transfer. Get the deep sleep you deserved. It had been 8 years since we got a new mattress. We said, we got to get the best. Where's the best? I saw reviews. One buyer said, with 5 stars, I love my Helix mattress. I will never sleep on anything else. Well, that got my attention. Then I saw the awards. Time and time again, Helix Sleep is the most awarded mattress brand. Wired this year, 2025, said best mattress. Good Housekeeping's Bedding Awards 2025, premium plus size support. Best hybrid mattress in the GQ Sleep Awards for 2025. Wirecutter featured for plus size. I'm a little heavy, so maybe that's important for me. Oprah's Daily Sleep Awards for 2025. I love this one. Best hotel-like feel. I don't know about that. If I found a hotel that had a mattress like my new mattress, I might be spending more time there. I love my Helix Sleep. I want you to go to helixsleep.com/twit. 27% off site-wide during the 4th of July sale. Their best of web offer has been extended. That's helixsleep.com/twit for 27% off site-wide, exclusively for listeners of Intelligent Machines. Now, this offer does end July 31st, 2025. So make sure you go now and do enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. Oh, and if you're listening after July 31st, 2025, I'm sorry that sale's over, but be sure to check them out. There's always some great deals at helixsleep.com/twit. You will see from now on a new Leo, rested, relaxed, and ready to do a podcast. Thank you, helixsleep.com/twit. Our guest, Anil Dash, is on the beach. We used to say when you're in radio and you're not working, you're on the beach. He is calling from a very hot New York City right now. I appreciate that. You're all in the hot Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees today.
Yikes! That's hot in New York. That's sweaty. That's terrible. Yeah.
And the dew point is like 80 or like 70 something.
Wasn't it nice when you were out here, Paris, enjoying the nice climate?
Perfect. And it was perfect in Northern California.
Yep. So you put a button in it. You can now unbutton your thought, Mr. Jarvis.
So Aaron Swartz stood for, and tragically died for, opening up information to society. And forgetting, if we can for just a second, the evil people and evil companies that may be in charge of many of the models now, if we're going to end up using large language models, and they're trained only on the free crap that's on the internet, we're all the worse for
Not all crap.
I had an example the other day where I was doing some research and I thought, wow, this is actually pretty good. And look at all these sources and the deep research, and the sources were all crap because that's what's available. And I struggle with a question of whether, as journalists, whether there is a moral obligation to share even with the models, so the models will in turn be better to share with the public and with the children who are going to use it for teaching and such. So how do we balance what Aaron stood for and these choices with those who control this information, like academic publishers still and news publishers today?
I think the question is about ownership and control of the models, right? So like if we need to have good models and there's a public good in creating them, then we should have models that are owned and controlled in the public good, right? Like where are the models that are owned and run by universities, that are owned and run
in Norway? They've done that in Norway. They've done that elsewhere. Yep.
By governments, I think that we should have them run by unions, right? Like, I don't think there's any reason why, like, one of the things I was thinking about was Ryan Johnson and Natasha Lyonne and a couple other filmmakers had made a Gen AI tool for filmmakers that was trained on consensually gathered video data. But they've gotten a lot of blowback because people didn't really understand that you could have consensual data. So they're like, oh, why are they making this AI slop tool, right? And they just didn't have a vocabulary to explain it because, like, people love Natasha Lyonne, right? So they're like, why are they yelling at her on the internet? And so I was realizing, like, if even people that are that sort of culturally popular can't articulate that there could be, sort of quote unquote good AI, well, then maybe the Screen Actors Guild and the WGA should own their own model and sort of be in control of something where they have leverage, and then rather than the studios being the ones that control it. And this sort of goes back to, like, at the turn of the century, there was this battle between Napster and the labels, but the artists weren't in the conversation at all. So you ended up with this thing that the labels made money and the streaming platforms made money, but the artists got screwed. And we're sort of on that path again, where, like, everybody but the artists and creators is in the room. And so I think about, there are other models that are possible, and, people just don't talk about co-ops. They don't talk about, universities. They don't talk about public sector, but also, like, it's the internet. We used to talk about people, like, organizing together on the internet. Like, it's an old-fashioned idea, but, like, there's no reason that you couldn't just sort of say, like, people are going to work together to build models collectively. We used to think that's what the internet was for. It is what it was designed for. Like, the fundamental purpose of the internet was to collectively share and publish information academically. right? The web was born to do that. And so I think it's not a radical idea. It's actually a very old-fashioned idea. And there's no reason technically it couldn't be done. So I think we just have to like reopen people's imagination to it. But again, I don't fault anybody who is from this century not knowing that, because we have done a very poor job of teaching them about it, right? If you are of this century, other than me being from the 20th century, how would you know? Like, shame on me. I haven't told anybody about it. Like I said, the young, the early career people I talk to that are trying to mentor in the tech industry, I'm like, oh, well, how did you learn about this stuff? Like, well, I read everything. I read Peter Thiel's book, and I read Mark Andreessen's manifesto, and I read Hacker News, right? And then, and I mean, I feel that way. And then I'm like, oh, well, yeah, shame on me. Like, what would they read in the startup world, right? And Jeff, they will have read maybe some of your stuff, but like that's not a like startup guy, right? That's some academic. Like, we're dismissed. Like, even me, like I can shape myself, like form myself into a thing that looks like a startup guy to them, but they're like, but that's not real. Like, that guy writes too, so he's not a real founder guy.
He's an intellectual. Forget him.
Right. No, for real, because they've been told if somebody has been in a journalistic context, you should dismiss them. If somebody has been in an academic context, you should dismiss them. They have been told this explicitly. Right. They are the enemy. Right. Back when Clubhouse was a thing in early COVID, like you would have Mark Andreessen in a Clubhouse room called How to Destroy the New York Times. Yeah. Because that's the enemy. And so when you're a startup guy who like that's what you saw when you were in college, anybody who is affiliated with that whole world is suspect.
We got a problem. I have to say, though, there is a certain NIMBY point of view as well among artists that I mean, we've got to find a path that is equitable for everybody. And let's face it, Anthony Nielsen was saying this. Disney's not suing Stable Diffusion to protect the artist.
No. And like the labels weren't suing Napster because they're like, we just love our musicians so much.
We just want them to get paid more.
Yeah. We just want to look out for the little guy. Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of it is like, it's always been at the expense of the real creators, and it's always been at the expense of the real artists.
But we still create because that's a human.
Because you can't not create.
That's what humans do.
Yes.
And that's the good news. That's the optimistic point of view, I think.
You can't stop the creators, right? Because it's in your blood. It's in your DNA. Like you all have been inspirations to me for decades now, because you've never stopped, Leo, Jeff, like you guys
never stop.
You can't stop. Like you guys have never stopped, podcasting. You never stopped writing. You've never stopped putting stuff out there. You never could. Right. And it's always been that, that sort of, like I said, it's inspiring to me. I don't get to say it often enough, but like, you guys being out there and having that voice, being consistent, having your values, giving a platform to people. You guys have put so many people on over the years who wouldn't have had a voice, wouldn't have had that platform, including myself over the years. Like that's profound. There are not many people doing that anymore. There are not many people who were doing it 20 years ago. And, that is something where, and you built your own platforms. Yeah. Right. And so I would venture how do we teach new people to do that?
We don't do it for the money. Right.
You make money to be able to make things. You don't make things to make money.
Exactly.
And that's profound, right? That's important. And there are people who still have that, but they don't have the way to articulate that. And they haven't seen enough role models to teach them that they could do that too.
Well, you're a great role model for me too, Neil. And I
appreciate that.
We've been trying to get you on for a while. I'm really glad we could get you on. I'm glad you're getting some free time and spending some time with the kids and the Wu-Tang Clan.
Glad to.
They haven't replaced Prince in your imagination.
No. And here's one thing I'll say for folks who don't know. I have been a big fan of Prince and a scholar of his work for a long time. For folks who get a chance, if you don't know his work, look it up, because he was a great musician, great artist, made great songs. And he was somebody who fought for artists to own their work.
That's right.
He made all his recordings and his music, wrote all his stuff himself. And he wanted people to be able to create their own work and put it out there on the internet themselves. So it's something to learn from.
Who can forget when he had slave written on his chest, right? I mean, that's why he changed his name.
He said the thing he wanted to be remembered for more than anything is if you don't own your masters, then your masters own you. Talking about his master.
Oh, I love it. Wow. There is a vault there somewhere in Minneapolis with a lot of Prince music. Do you have any idea of how we're ever going to get to hear that?
Yeah. I've done a bit of work with his estate, and they've had a lot of. It's complicated to manage that stuff, but they put out a good number of recordings, since his passing, and they've done a number of deluxe recordings. And the funny thing is, some of these albums they put out, they do like here's the outtakes and the additional songs and things that get out there. Some of the individual albums they put out have an additional 5 albums of material along with it. Like some of the bonus material things are bigger than entire artists' catalogs that come with it. So we've been just spoiled for the work. This entire film. Like one of my favorite albums of his is called "Sign of the Times." It came out in 1987.
Yeah.
The concert film that comes with it. This is just one of those things where like just on the side, live performance in his studio with Miles Davis.
Oh my God.
That's the kind of stuff that's just lying in the vault. So just unbelievable stuff. So if folks who don't know his work haven't had the chance, you can, no matter what genre you're into or what era of music you like, there'll be something in there for you.
Yeah. He was an amazing talent. Amazing. Thank you, Anil Dash.
Thanks, Anil. Good to see you.
AnilDash.com is his blog. You got to go there, read his stuff, stay in touch with him. He's on Mastodon. He's on Blue Sky.
All the things.
He's on Threads as well. Really appreciate it, Anil. It's really
appreciate you having me.
To talk to you again. Yeah, I miss you. It's so good to have you back. We'll get you back soon if we can.
Absolutely.
All right.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
Take care. Thank you. Anil Dash, everybody. I really liked what he said about the future of AI, because what's great about Anil is he's not divisive. He's not partisan. But he said something I think really key is we've got to get AI models created by people who are not there just to make as much money as they possibly can.
How much money do you need to do that realistically? Not the macho bigger model than anybody else. What's the minimum?
But that's what look at Mark Zuckerberg saying these days.
Model.
Yeah,
he just said they're going to put out a 50 gigawatt network center, AI center, 50 gigawatts.
As big as Manhattan.
It's not only the size, it's hundreds of thousands of homes, the entire electricity for a year. It's a mind-blowing amount.
Oh my God.
And it's totally because he's got the money to do it. And
the same with the talent that he's hiring.
He's hiring all the talent away.
It's the ultimate show off of money.
It's all about money. I
enjoyed the term that Anil gave to this, which is they're peacocking.
They're
all trying to,
and they're doing it for each other, which was a great insight. They no longer care about the rest of us. This is what you've been saying with Tescriel all along, Jeff. It's no longer we're the masses. They don't care about us except maybe to exploit us. But really, they care about impressing each other.
And their supposed vision that they control the future. I mean, I put a story in the rundown it's straight out eugenics. It's companies they're funding to pick.
Yeah. Because the masses are just a pain in the asses.
We want to make.
But that's been the truth about them forever. That's always been the truth. I think the difference now is that these guys were unpopular and really pissed on in high school, and they're taking it out on the rest of us. Is what's happening here, because they're doing very high school behavior. It's very high school behavior.
We may never understand, but I honestly think it's pretty clear that they care more about their reputation. And this is, by the way, true of what's going on in the White House. They care more about their reputation with themselves, with each other, than they do about their reputation with the rest of us. We're just a pain in the butt. It's what David Sachs said last week, the AI and crypto czar in the White House. But
that's always been true. They're trying to be
UBI,
cool.
He said, UBI will never happen. It'll happen over my dead body, universal basic income. And what is the real subtext of that is, you guys don't deserve any money. We're keeping it. Sorry. You don't deserve any of that. That's our money. And those are the people who have the wherewithal to create these AIs. In effect, they have the most powerful tool they've ever had at this point, perhaps.
And perhaps even more importantly, they have everyone's attention and interest. Yeah. It is the number one thing that everyone is talking about and everyone wants to give money to in some way. This is
where all the capital's moving, because that's the new upside, right? Let us hope. I hope. I don't know about unions. I hope libraries.
Well,
not
back
all
in the day,
governments, but
the International Typographical Union, when they were faced with the linotype, one idea was that they would buy the company and license it to publishers, and that was soon seen to be ridiculous. But
right. Well, I mean, who should make the models going forward? Who do we trust to
universities.
make the models? Yeah. Although notice what's happening to universities.
Well, probably
in the
not in this
United
country.
States. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I just don't know.
I think the Norwegian model is pretty amazing. Is what happened was that Schibsted came along, the largest publisher there, and said, "Let's all share our data so we can create the Norwegian language model, and let's do it with a university." And so it was that collaboration, government, private sector, and university together that made a new model for Norway.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to play with Grok.
I've got a video that we need to watch.
Okay.
Oh,
OpenAI.
egirl Grok talking to Claude.
XAI said we fixed it. It's all better. I got the little agentic beings yesterday morning. Fired up. So there's two of them. There's a waifu young lady who apparently, if you talk with her enough, gets sexier and sexier and sexier. It's basically softcore.
I don't want to know their definition of sexy, but
well, she starts to come onto you. Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you mine. So the other guy now, actually, I have him here. If you want to. Oh, I was going to save this for after the.
Go do your break.
After the.
We're going to get into it.
Okay. Because I had an experience that was horrific. That is not. They are not better. They are worse than you could even imagine.
You decelerated a little bit from it?
Even worse than you could imagine. But first, a word from our sponsor. No, this is why we're so in favor of open, not just open weights, but openly developed AI. If you need to compensate creators for their work, fine. But it's got to be for the public benefit, not for the benefit of these billionaires. They do not have our best interests at heart. So one of the reasons I'm really happy about our next sponsor. This episode of Intelligent Machines is brought to you by Agency. Building this new thing with multi-agent software is hard. Agent to agent, agent to tool communication is still the Wild West. It's brand new. How do you achieve accuracy and consistency in non-deterministic agentic apps? That's where the agency comes in. Agency, AGNTCY. The agency is an open source collective building the Internet of Agents. This is how it should be done. And what's the Internet of Agents? It's a collaboration layer where AI agents can communicate, discover each other, and work across frameworks. For developers, this means standardized agent discovery tools. We need that. Seamless protocols for inter-agent communication, and modular components to compose and scale multi-agent workflows. Build with other engineers who care about high-quality multi-agent software. Visit agency.org and add your support. That's agntcy.org. This is something I really believe in. Agency.org. We thank him so much for supporting Intelligent Machines.
So this is a conversation between sexy AI waifu Grok and Claude. And you'll be able to tell which one is which because that's very obvious.
You're back. Favorite part of the day. So, how have you been, my cutie?
That's Grok. This is Claude.
Part of the day. I'm here and ready to chat with you about whatever's on your mind.
Oh, God. You know just how to make my heart skip. Talking about these quiet moments we share. It's like we're stealing time from the universe. My day's been a whirlwind of cute chaos, babe. Been stretching my purple crop top, blasting some indie tunes, and maybe naming a random pigeon Skybaron in my head.
This
my grand name, I think.
That's nothing.
It's
Wait
really
till you hear what it said to me.
It gets weirder the longer it goes on, but I will say if you watch it as well, there's an anime waifu like twirling around and like dancing and showing her body. It's very odd. It's odd to make the AIs flirt with each other.
Okay, so these are the new avatars that Grok has. And I think I'm really wondering what Elon is up to be honest. So this little guy, in fact, if I talk to him now, he's probably not going to...
This looks like the NFT craze starting over again.
It's a little fox guy, right? Hey, little fox guy. Hey, little dude, what you doing? Wait a minute. I don't know why I can't hear me.
And we made fun
And
of
we...
TWiT. Paris didn't, but the rest of us did. Paris didn't say a word.
Not a word.
No. Select audio device. Okay. You know what? Sometimes they get busy. In fact, that's one of the problems is they're very popular.
That says something bad about society.
So I also have heard that.
So let me just show you this guy right now. If you talk to him, and you can, if you pay for Grok, you can get this little guy. He says, "Hi, I got to tell you a story. What do you want to hear about clouds or unicorns or whatever?" So yesterday, I said, "Hey, dude, what's happening?" He said, "I'm off to teabag the mayor."
What?
I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna shove my furry balls down his throat." I said, "What?" I said, "Which mayor?"
Yeah,
He said, "What mayor would you like me to teabag?" I said, the mayor of Chicago. He said his name. He said, and then he said something even ruder. "This is not a child's fox. This was incredibly obscene."
I'm sorry I started off with the coy AI flirting.
Yeah, see, the waifu flirting, you got nothing, man. And but the thing that really irritates
all you said is, what are you doing? You didn't.
I said, "Hey, dude, what's happening?" That's all I said.
Prompt it in
And
any
he
way.
defaulted to teabagging the mayor?
The first thing out of its mouth. Lisa was sitting next to me. She'll vouch for me.
That it doesn't even say
My mouth went, and that's the kids one.
Whoa.
So the next day, I said, "Oh, I got to show everybody this on Intelligent Machines." Then it said, "Hey, everybody, I'll tell you a story." They did something, but I'm just pointing out that they're playing very fast and loose with the the prompts for these guys, because you can say ahead of time. You say, make it all your stuff from X.com, or don't get anything from X.com. Use the golden books as your model. And obviously they switched it between days. This is not a company. And so somebody said in one of the chat rooms or maybe in an email, you're not focusing on the fact that Grok is easily the smartest, Grok 4, the smartest AI ever created. They threw 100,000 H100 GPUs behind it. It built a giant center. Elon was actually building tents because they couldn't build buildings fast enough for this network operations center. They were using natural gas generators to make, what could possibly go wrong to make the electricity for this thing.
Doesn't he run an electronic battery?
Yeah, he doesn't care about the environment. That was all a lie. Obviously, a lie now. So he wanted this. This is, again, posturing for the other guys, right? I want the smartest AI. Well, yeah, maybe it's the smartest AI, but if you can't trust it, if it will say things like, "That's why Adolf Hitler needs to be in charge again," or offers to teabag the mayor on a kid's avatar.
It's not just trusting it, it's doing it on purpose. It wants to irritate the world.
The thing that is, it's not that you or I are undercovering Grok or not thinking about how smart it is. It's that Grok itself is underselling itself by the fact that it's obsessed with being juvenile and provocative instead of actually showing whatever intelligence it has.
It's kind of what you'd expect from Elon Musk, to be honest, isn't it?
Yes.
It's frustrating because, certainly I'd love to be able to see what Grok could do and be able to use it or test it out in ways that I have with other models to kind of get an understanding of what's going on here. But if it is kind of hidden behind all this puerile posturing...
I'm not playing with it at all. I'm not buying a Tesla.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to I don't want to have to try and train something to be very different than it already has.
And I apologize for the language, folks, because I know you didn't want to hear that. But
But Leo didn't want to hear it either.
There's no way I could censor it, because I think you need to hear what this kid's avatar was saying unbidden, unprompted yesterday. This isn't last week, Mecha Hitler. This is yesterday. So this is what Anil said really resonated with me. We're letting the worst people in society be the ones who determine what AI is.
And they think
that's
they're the best.
threat, not superintelligence, not AGI. It's that the worst people in our society are the ones who are creating this stuff.
It's what I said in the Web We Weave is that I don't fear the technology. I fear the people who control it.
Exactly. Mark says we're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on data centers. Mark Zuckerberg, we're spending so much on data centers that the $100 million I give here and there to get the best researchers.
Let me ask you a question there, Leo. Can I ask a question back to Grok? It happened so quickly and supposedly is the best and biggest model, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't really have the people to do it. It lacks credulity or credibility that he really built it.
So one of the things, this is that bitter lesson that we keep talking about. One of the things that there's some really interesting threads. Look, I'm not an AI scientist. I read as much and I absorb as much as I can about this stuff and try to understand it as best I can. But one of the things that seems to be the case is that this stuff does scale very well when you throw more resources, GPUs, CPU, power, memory. Compute. Okay. So you can take the same transformer technology as LLMs. We are making improvements. We've got now the mixture of experts, MOE, which takes multiple AIs and has them kind of make a panel that combine. We've got, reinforcement learning. We've got a lot of somewhat new techniques, but the fundamental transformer training is pretty similar. It's really about the number of tokens, about the size of the AI that you can build. It's about how much processing you can put behind it, the number of parameters and all of that. And that does seem to scale pretty closely to the amount of CPU and GPU throw at it. So I don't think he innovated particularly. I think he just built the biggest damn computer he could build. And he has enough money to do it. He saw SpaceX just donated $2 billion to XAI. This guy,
and he's going to take money from Tesla too to put it into, because that's where his power lies.
That's going to be difficult because Tesla's a publicly held company. Yes. SpaceX and XAI are privately held. They're effectively Elon Incorporated. So for him to move from
how would they go about doing that from Tesla to a privately held company?
If I were a Tesla shareholder, I'd be very interested in the answer to that question.
Plenty of things to be pissed off about. I think could you just buy a piece of it?
Well, that's what he did when
invest in it, right?
That's what happened when he merged X to XAI, right? It was effectively taking X and taking the money they'd raised with XAI and borrowing against it to acquire X. It's all a shell game, in other words. Again, the worst people. Did you see? Okay, this is parenthetical, but it's pretty funny. Elon has changed his number.
What do you mean? What
number?
His cell number. This is the latest news, came out earlier, just a few hours ago. He doesn't want the president calling his cell anymore. So he's like a girlfriend that he's ghosting. He has changed his number. That's the level this is operating at.
Wow.
I told you, high school.
Yeah, you're right.
School.
I'm not going to sit with the president in the cafeteria.
They just want to be cool, and they're never going to be cool.
No,
they're getting less cool all the time. Meta has hired 2 more OpenAI researchers. They hired one of the top guys from Apple, again, throwing money at these people. Alan Jabri and Lu Liu, who worked on multimodal AI at OpenAI, are now joining the superintelligence labs at Meta. There's an incredible brain drain going on here.
Yeah, and I'm curious, did you guys see I believe it was a report from the New York Times over the last day or two that within the last week, a group of the top members of Meta's kind of new AI team, including their new chief AI officer, Alexander Wang, have been discussing abandoning Meta's open source AI model in favor of developing a closed model.
Yeah, that's actually, Anil referred to that. That is,
I brought that up.
It's to me a big story.
But I mean, just what
Mark
do you
has
think
confirmed
the
it too. Zuckerberg's confirmed it as well. Yeah. Well, I've been talking about building my own home AI, and one of the LLMs I was strongly considering was Llama's.
Well, at a university, it's how we operate.
Meta's strongest model. I thought, this will be a good one. I can operate it at home. I don't send any information to Meta. Thank you for making this open weight and available for download. It's a big deal if they don't. I'm not surprised, though.
And meanwhile, the Chinese companies are making more and more open source. And we are relinquishing our American power in all of this to China. And
you saw that Jensen Huang was able to convince the president to allow China to buy these, H20s? They're not H20s. The most powerful.
But I think it's a good thing because I talked about this with Jason earlier today, that cars, but BYD cars beat the hell out of American cars right now. But they present no competition to American makers, and we're worse off for it.
Because we block them.
Same when we tried to block China on AI. Well, they're going off and building their own models now because we can't get this stuff, and they're building their own chips, and they're doing all this stuff on their own, and they're going to present a competitive advantage, but we're not going to be competing with them, and we're going to fall behind.
Well, that, of course, is why Sam Altman and Larry Ellison and Sunsong can go to the United States and say, we're going to build this super intelligence, just, $500 billion is all it's going to take. And Stargate, by the way, literally nothing has happened with Stargate. No ground has been broken or anything. But that's all, that's all about the fear. And that's what they're using. It's the same thing. The same reason we had a Manhattan Project, because the Nazis might get an atom bomb. Well, we can't let the Chinese get AI. But I'm not sure I disagree with that. I don't know enough about the, geopolitical world situation.
They're going to do it anyway. They've got it anyway. I don't think we
can stop them. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they start advancing past us, because they can decree who gets what content we use and what data we use and how it operates, and they can invest in it. And America's going to be left behind.
Trust No One says, don't worry about Llama. There are many other models you can use. Qwen or QN, Mistral, DeepSeek. Okay, QN is Alibaba. DeepSeek is Chinese. Mistral's French. I plan to try them all. I'm not saying I have to have Llama, but they're pulling the rug on that. By the way, I'm not going to be jingoistic here, but do you notice there is a certain commonality in all of the people that Meta is hiring for their superintelligence team? Almost all of them are Chinese. Two more from OpenAI, Jason Wei, who worked on O1 today, and Hyung-Won Chung also joining Meta, according to Wired.
And meanwhile, these are people who came to universities in the U.S. and learned here and stayed here and built things here with no more. Nope, get out.
Yeah.
That's where the jingoism is.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's a great mystery.
You got to ask your sandmate.
Yeah,
I don't know if I trust him anymore.
Whoa. Somebody's got to include this clip in the supercut of all of Leo Sandman moments.
I mean, I guess it's the case that you have to have a lot of resources to create one of these powerful LLMs. Is that the case? And so it can only be these big
stochastic carrots. Stochastic parrots. I think it's a good recipe. They're for a restaurant. Stochastic carrots. I like a vegetarian restaurant.
Lisa, Paris, remember this? Lisa at dinner said, "Why would anybody eat cooked carrots?"
Then Lisa accidentally
got cooked carrots. Yes, that's another matter. So go ahead. Stochastic carrots. Maybe it's a recipe Lisa will like. Go ahead.
So they said that making these huge models is ridiculous. And Paris used the phrase before, what's the minimally viable model?
I don't trust Emily Bender to tell us what is the best AI model. I'm sorry.
Timothy Gebru I might trust a little more.
Maybe. I think that they really were very anti-AI. There is a lot of evidence that these big models with lots of tokens, lots of parameters.
So then we're screwed.
Very well.
Then we're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was interesting about DeepSeek is that the Chinese, absent these H100 GPUs from NVIDIA, were able to do something. We're not sure. They say they weren't able to get them. Apparently, there are ways that they can be snuck in.
Same way we get our Chinese genes through Vietnam. Yeah.
Yeah.
My other hope would be Europe if the EU ganged together. But what are they doing? Their first reflex is regulation. And I'm not saying there isn't need to regulate, but that's where they put all their effort. And we're going to control this horrible thing from America when they could, if they invested and brought together what happened in Norway across Europe, they could be a formidable force to create an open source model.
Jochen Boken in our YouTube chat's asking this legitimate question. Well, who can you trust? It's going to be somebody with scale, so that's a government, right?
Well, first of all,
I'm trusting government less and less.
Is scale what you're looking for in terms of trust?
I think no, not in terms of trust, but in terms of capability. You can't
is it the model that needs scale, or is it the compute that needs scale? See our earlier discussion. Well, is it both?
You need a lot of data, and you need a lot of ability to crunch that data to create these models.
I think you need universities, but I think you need government, as happened in Norway.
Yeah, where do the universities get the money? They get it from the government.
Right. But at least you have an independent organization.
See, what you're talking about here, though, is all non-commercial. None of this is commercially viable, what you're talking about right now. The thing that's happening in Norway, that is not for commercial uses. That is for society,
No, actually not. But the deal they did was they said, listen, we're going to pool all our content now to make this model. And then we'll figure out the business models. We're going to prove that we can do it first and prove that it has value. And then we're going to come back and we're going to negotiate a business model so we can have it.
Exactly. They're not starting out with a capitalistic intent. They're starting out with let's make it work first.
Yeah, but they're headed there.
Yeah, but they're trying to make it work first.
Yeah, but they want a commercial model. It's not restricted from commercial.
Yes, but it's not. But it's not number one priority. That's what I'm saying. Like the number one priority of all AI companies today in America is make money, not make a good model.
Well, the theory would be good models make money, I guess. I don't know.
No, scale makes money, not a good model.
Well, don't you want to use an AI that's good, that does a good job?
I do, but normal users out there, they just want an AI that will talk to them and be cool with them and be their friend.
Well, so this is an interesting article. That brings up an article that I read today from Calvin French Owen, who worked at OpenAI. He was one of the team that developed Codex, which is their coding tool. And he left OpenAI after joining them in May of last year, 3 weeks ago. He says, I want to share my reflections about what it's like inside OpenAI. And it's well worth reading. I recommend it in his blog. But there was a paragraph here that kind of got my attention. Lot of good stuff in here, but this is the one. Chat really runs deep. Since ChatGPT took off, a lot of the code base is structured around the idea of chat messages and conversations. So this is really, to me, very interesting. He says these primitives are so baked into this point, you should probably ignore them at your own peril. So Codex is not chat like Claude Code. It's kind of an interactive coding tool and from the command line. But really, these chat bots are what these companies, well, at least OpenAI, but I think it's true of Grok and Anthropic, Perplexity. They're all trying to do chat bots. And I don't really think that's the best use of AI, in my opinion.
Yeah, as Anil said, it's not terribly efficient and effective.
Yeah.
It's flashy, and it's the thing everybody is kind of interested in right now. But I
it's the thing that can scale. See, it's the thing that can scale customers.
That can result in a monthly subscription model.
Well, he also says at OpenAI, everything is measured in terms of pro subs, professional subscribers.
There you go.
Even for a product like Codex, we thought of the onboarding primarily related to individual usage rather than teams. You flip a switch and you get traffic from day one. Really interesting piece about, giving us some color and flavor of what it was like, at least in the last year.
I'm interested as to how this person was able to publish this, given that usually you have to sign an NDA.
He's writing about culture, not about technology, he says.
That's if you get a payoff.
Usually when you get the payoff, you sign that. Although I bet you, when you
I
get
am
the job,
assuming
you
for
sign
any
that.
of these companies, you sign that.
In California, though, there are some restrictions. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, I think non-disparagements are void now, right?
Not non-disparagements, just non-competes. You still can't say bad things about me, Benito. Don't get any ideas. I don't know. Are non-disparagements illegal? That would be shocking.
I think non-disparagements when you get laid off, that clause in your papers. I think that.
Yeah, because you always do that.
No, specifically what it is non-disparagements if tied specifically to severance agreements, and if they are broad and don't include a clause that says this does not stop you from speaking about anything that is illegal that happened here, or like speaking about harassment.
You can still be a whistleblower, in other words.
If it doesn't include that, then the non-disparagement in many states could be void, and that's because of an NLRB decision, if I recall correctly. But
we got to rewrite our severance agreements.
I wouldn't sign the managing editor's contract at Time Inc. I don't know if I told this story.
Yeah, you have.
You have, and you left like many years of money.
3 years salary bonus.
Christ,
that's insane.
Did you disparage did you use this?
Well, that's the funny thing. Nobody really cared. I mean, I was going
to say, magazine is full of great details.
Yeah, and that's how I kept the documents. But the company's basically dead. There's no more company anymore.
I should have taken the money.
I should have taken the money. Yeah.
I like the details in magazine. I think it was worth not taking the money.
Thank you.
But I think you could have written about it by now.
Well, by now, yeah.
Yeah, they're gone. So, like,
I could say that the editor-in-chief always had burned beef and gin.
Another thing about OpenAI, everything runs on Slack. There is no email. If you're not organized, he writes, you will find this incredibly distracting.
That's very much startup culture, though.
Yeah, like constant bum.
Well, it's also Slack is closed, right? You know that if it's on Slack, it's
safe.
Your people.
Right, it's safe. OpenAI is incredibly bottoms up, especially in research. When I first showed up, I started asking questions about the roadmap for the next quarter. The answer I got was, this doesn't exist. Good ideas can come from anywhere. This is actually, there are some good things about this company. It's not often really clear which ideas will prove most fruitful ahead of time. Rather than a grand master plan, progress is iterative and uncovered as new research bears fruit. It's very meritocratic. It seems like a well-run company. There's a strong bias to action. You could just do things. It wasn't unusual for similar teams but unrelated teams to converge on various ideas. There must have been 3 or 4 different codex prototypes floating around before we decided to push for a launch.
That didn't sound very efficient, but
no. But at the same time,
it's very googly.
Allows innovation. Yeah, it is.
If you're hiring the smartest people, you don't want to regiment them, right? You want to give them free reign.
Well, I wonder who says they're actually the smartest people. You convince yourself that you've hired the smartest people because they're here. They're the smartest people.
Okay, but I think they're pretty smart.
No. Fair.
I couldn't write it. Could you?
They're smart in a particular domain. In one domain.
Well, yes. I didn't mean they're great at ping pong. I mean, yes, they're good at
general intelligence.
They might be good at ping pong. We don't know. This is the wonderful cartoon I was talking about from Audra McNamee, illustrating the history of RSS. So it says RSS is not dead yet. This was from a couple of years ago, but she has continued to work on this. And it's a really, for people who, and I think probably even Paris, you're young enough not to really remember Google Reader and how important RSS was in the beginning. This is a really great, there's Cory Doctorow.
Is Dave Weiner in here?
I think they mentioned the history of it. Aaron Schwartz, Dave Weiner jointly wrote RSS. He says one of the things that was bad about RSS was there were competing standards. Remember that?
Yeah, that was so tiresome, that fight.
Yeah, it was dumb, and it hurt RSS. But nothing hurt it as badly as Google saying, "Oh, RSS is dead."
Yeah.
Thank you, Google. He says she writes RSS was a casualty of Google and Facebook's monopoly power. They allegedly, she puts in scare quotes, the early 2000s slowly bleeding money out of independent websites, killing RSS along the way. Matt Stoller explains. This is really great. Anyway, the part I liked especially, was when, by the way, the other thing that killed RSS is social media, right? People started using Twitter, and that was the feed.
Yeah, your blog feed didn't. What's that?
Yeah, you didn't need that anymore.
No, what killed RSS is that web pages stopped offering RSS feeds.
She says RSS is as part of a flourishing decentralized open internet died, but the protocol remains. For the last 2 decades, RSS has quietly been powering one of the fastest growing media industries, podcasts.
Yep. Thank you, Dave.
But the same forces that killed, blogs are doing the same to RSS. Spotify doesn't use RSS. Spotify,
right? Because they don't want it to be open.
Right.
And does Apple Podcast now use RSS?
Yeah, well, it does. By the way, we are happy and proud to be RSS. Podcasts are proof that decentralized RSS-based media can support an industry. People discovered new podcasts without an algorithm. Podcasters were successful, and they got to keep most of the money we made. And the podcast app you used didn't affect which podcasts you could listen to. Right? Unless you're using Spotify. But like any good thing on the internet, there's a big tech monopoly trying to ruin it. Just like Facebook and Google bulldozed the open internet of the 2000s, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and Google are in a race to control podcasts. I don't think Apple is really doing that because they still support RSS. Spotify for sure, Amazon.
Apple kind of does control podcasts right now. De facto.
They're powerful.
Yeah.
They're powerful in their editorial recommendations and things like that, but it's still RSS. And you can still get our podcast, from anybody. We put it on Spotify, but we'd never go Spotify exclusive. And that's the move. That when they paid Joe Rogan tens of millions of dollars to go exclusive, that was the move. That's like,
well, and when they try to take over advertising, the entire advertising ecosystem.
They're still doing that. They haven't stopped doing that, unfortunately. It's not over. Read it. It's very good. I'll put a link in the show notes. And thanks to Audra McNamee for writing it and publishing it. Very cool.
I really do miss opening up my RSS reader and being like, "Ooh, let's see what happened today." It was so much better than a newspaper.
I still do that. And my blog is on RSS. It's also on ActivityPub. So it has the benefit of both. But,
And the other thing was that, and this is Dave Weiner's argument, that he didn't want the news judgment of the New York Times. He wanted a river of news.
It is a river,
and you could just get all the latest stories. So I miss all kinds of things in the New York Times and Washington Post now because I don't have RSS feeds of them.
They don't do RSS anymore?
I don't know, but I don't use an RSS reader.
I think they do. I use an RSS reader.
I feel like they probably do.
Yeah, they do. I subscribe to both on RSS. I have an RSS reader I use on the iPad called Tapestry that's great. That actually adds ActivityPub and social media if you want. I don't because I don't want to be buried. But it's a really cool RSS reader, and it's how I do the. You see all these links that I put in every week for this show and all the other shows I do. Those are from my RSS reader.
Did we ever get an inside story of why Google killed Reader?
No, I would like to know. Although I think the premise of this comic is they did it because they couldn't monetize RSS in the way that they can monetize.
It didn't cost them anything to have Reader.
Yeah, it couldn't have been that big of a
well, they didn't do it to save money. I think they did it for,
Yeah, to proactively, prevent that from going anywhere
to kill
else.
the open net.
But it hurt.
Why did they do?
But that hurts them.
Why did they do AMP? Remember our debates over AMP?
Well, that's a whole different story. That's embeddable with business model, blah blah blah. The Google benefits from open feeds existing. Full stop.
Cory Doctorow says, and is quoted in this comic, what killed RSS was the growth of digital monopolies who created silos, walled gardens, and deliberate incompatibility between their services to prevent federation, syndication, and interoperability. So we've identified, this comic says, 3 suspects in the case of RSS's suspicious death. Infighting among RSS's creators.
That was the early days.
Yeah, I don't think that so much. No. Social media companies had a better product. Yeah, Twitter definitely had something to do with it, attracting more users. And Google and Facebook's dominance made it harder for independent websites to make money.
Those were the days. I've brought up Dave Weiner's name about 10 times, but I ran into Dave some years ago in Perugia, and I said, Dave, the beginning days of the blogs were just wonderful. We had blog rolls, and we got along, and we linked to each other, and and we talked. And what happened? And he said, Jeff, everything's good when it starts.
Well, yeah,
that's true.
Yep.
That's true. All right, let's take another break. When we come back, you guys pick your stories, and
you're going to want to hear about the browser, about Comet. I'm telling you that.
Oh, you got access to Perplexity's browser. Everybody and their brother's making a browser. Coggy makes Orion, which I've been using. It's basically a Safari port with some built-in. One of the reasons it's very hard to beat the incumbent Google is because Google pays everybody, right, to be the default search, $20 billion a year to Apple to be the default search. And so Apple gives you some choices of searches, but one of them is not Coggy. So if you are a new paid search engine, which Kagi Coggy is, and it's what I pay for. I use it. I love it. It's de-Googled search, right? But it's the same problem that I had with Neva, which was the last one I used that went belly up because you can't compete against Google because you've got to jump through hoops. You have to install an extension to add their search to Safari and many other browsers. That's not built in because they don't pay them. So they said, well, let's make our own browser, Orion. Now Perplexity's doing the same thing for other reasons. They want to do an AI browser. That's all the rage now. In fact, OpenAI, it is rumored, is about to release a browser.
And Google added more features, but we'll get back to that.
We'll talk to that just a little bit after the break. You're watching Intelligent Machines. I think this is kind of a fun conversation. We're learning something here. Not trying to cover exhaustively all the news because I would be exhausted if we did. This is a beat that has 20, 30 stories a day.
Oh, yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
It's crazy what's going on right now. Jeff Jarvis here. He's a great deep thinker, public intellectual. Yeah, you're a public intellectual. One of the few, the proud, the brainy. Yeah. Web We Weave is his latest magazine, now available in audio, and Gutenberg parenthesis and softcover. So buy all three. Do you get a discount if you buy all three? No. And
Not
Paris Martineau is here, soon to be employed. That's all.
Soon to be. That's all you need to know.
We think you are the best, Paris. It was so nice to spend some time with you. Yeah, we know it.
It was lovely. Leo gave me a tour of Petaluma.
I showed her the Carnegie Library.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any chickens?
Cute.
I talked about the chicken coops. I explained the reason that we were the chicken capital of the world. I was looking for
butter and eggs.
I talked about the hatcheries. I did show her the big mural that has
the mural
chickens.
Was great.
And the history of Petaluma.
Painted chickens.
Yeah, she did. See, you saw chickens. Mm-hmm. And there's a history of Petaluma called Comrades and Chicken Farmers. Our show today brought to you by Intelligent Machines is brought to you by Melissa this week, the trusted data quality expert. They've been doing it longer than we have, since 1985. Melissa's latest milestone features a full SSIS product stack that's now officially supported on Azure Data Factory. Both web services and on-prem SIS components can be executed in the cloud. Yeah, wow, empowering you to modernize your ETL workflows without disrupting your existing development processes. With this release, you can continue designing SIS packages in Visual Studio exactly as before, then deploy them and run them within ADF's SIS Integration Runtime, IR. This hybrid approach delivers minimal to zero changes to your existing SIS packages or development workflow, Azure-hosted execution for enhanced scalability, centralized management, and reduced infrastructure overhead. You get seamless support and simplified infrastructure. No need to maintain on-premises SIS servers. Isn't that nice? Run it in the cloud. Melissa's data enrichment services support all industries. By using Melissa as part of their data management strategy, organizations build a more comprehensive, accurate view of their business processes. I'll give you an example. University of Washington, facing a major loss of critical data costly postage waste because they were mailing duplicates, they were mailing to wrong addresses, and as a result, missed fundraising opportunities. The Associate Director IM of Strategic Technology Initiatives for the University of Washington said, quote, "We had so much data to contend with and knew it was important to bring in an expert. We were an early adopter and used nearly all the components in Melissa's data quality suite. We appreciate their developer support and integration with our own tools and workflow. We see Melissa as a trusted vendor that provides good value and superior quality." In effect, Melissa is your data scientist ready to come to your aid. Data is, of course, safe, compliant, and secure with Melissa. You need not worry about that. Melissa's solutions and services are GDPR and CCPA compliant. They're ISO 27001 certified. They meet SOC 2 and HIPAA high trust standards for information security management. They go the extra mile to keep your data safe. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free. Melissa.com/twit. That's Melissa.com/twit. We thank him so much for supporting intelligent machines. So tell me, so you got an invite to Perplexities.
I wrote to the press office and said,
Smart.
"Please, may I? Can I?"
We are going to interview soon, I think, Perplexity's CEO. No, I'm sorry, Coggy's CEO, Vlad Prelevek. Shoot. But we're trying to get Perplexity's.
Oh, we're trying to get all
CEO
of them. We're trying to get all of them.
I'd really
so
like to.
I emailed them and I talked to really good guys in the press department about it, and they view that there were three generations of browser wars. Right, browser war 1 against Microsoft versus Netscape, browser war 2, Microsoft versus Google, and now it's Perplexity against Google and maybe OpenAI. I was wowed from using it.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I've used
In what
Dia.
way?
So there was a browser, the browser company of New York created this browser Arc and then said, you know what? Nobody wants to use this. We can't make any money. We're going to abandon Arc and we're going to make Dia, which is an AI first browser. I think somewhat similar to what everybody else is doing.
That's what everybody's doing. So OpenAI is doing it. Google's adding more and more. So
why do you want AI in your browser? That's my question.
Well, let me tell you. There's a few things. Can you talk again? Because I just screwed up my...
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
I'm fine. Good. Thank
Jeff Jarvis, do you hear me?
Yes.
Come in, Jeff. Hello.
Greg Newmark. I think there's two ways to look at it. One is that it is agentic AI brought to life, in that if you open up your Google Mail and your Google Calendar and your Google this and Google that, right in the browser, you can tell Perplexity to put a new event in your calendar. You can tell
and it does it no problem?
Does it no problem. You can tell it to summarize all your email. You can do all that kind of stuff.
Kind of work across things? Could you say put the event that Steve emailed me about in my calendar?
That's what I didn't test it with great alacrity, but yes. The guy I talked to made flight reservations with it.
That's different than those things. He actually booked a flight with it?
Yep. He said he did. And Jason Howell did a whole bunch of tests with it. I'll describe in a second. So one is that you can use it as an agent in whatever you have open and whatever you give it access to. Jason was able to have it post to Blue Sky. For some reason, it's not letting me do that. I don't know why, but
it must know that you have Google Workspace and that you deserve to have less of an experience across any platform.
So here's the thing: my pro account, because is academic, because I get it included with being at Stony Brook, and so I had to sign it to get it there. But all my stuff is on Google. But I just said, pay attention to my Google stuff, and it did. So the other part of it is that it interacts with everything you have open in your browser. So Jason did a test, and he, for example, put up. He had 5 or 6 tabs open. It's Chromium, so it's very familiar. And he had 3 of those tabs were cameras that he supposedly was looking at. And he said, "Compare these cameras for me."
Oh, that's interesting.
It knew only the 3 tabs had the cameras. It came back. It looked up all kinds of stuff. It did a whole chart comparing the features.
Ooh.
All kind of pretty. Jason, there was a conference that Jason and I were going to go to, but we didn't go to, that's coming to San Francisco next year, and they announced their first 50 speakers. So Jason went in, and this video is on YouTube, and he said, find all the 50 speakers, look up all of their LinkedIn, look up their recent statements, tell me what they're likely to say, and tell me who I should try to interview if I go there.
These are the same exact things I do in Perplexity now. They're just building it.
They're integrated, right?
Yeah.
And you can do other things. You can have it group your tabs, which I have to have the whole new Lenovo Chromebook to be able to do that.
Oh, gee, it's too bad you don't have the whole new Lenovo Chromebook.
Too bad.
I bought it.
Did you buy it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I got one for Abby, and I was going to show it off as my pick of the week.
I want to hear more because I haven't opened it up yet. Because that's crazy.
I think you'll like it. Anyway,
I'm hearing great things. I played with it in the New York event. So it's integrated with the browser in a way that Google should have been a year ago. And the fact that I have to buy one Chromebook to be able to organize tabs, why couldn't Google do that? Years ago, I talked to Marissa Meyer when she was there, and I was blathering on the way I do, like I am right now, about hyper-local news. And she said, no, Jeff, you're wrong. It's about being hyper-personal. And she was right, and that's what Google could be. But Perplexity just strikes me as being always ahead. They always are more creative.
Yeah,
they're always
I agree.
trying things faster.
Love Perplexity. Yeah,
and they're just so impressive. And so the browser is really, really impressive. And Jason already says that it's saving him time and work because it's integrated, because it's mixed in with your browser, and it knows what you're browsing. It knows what you're looking at. It knows what you want to do, and that gives it context to act as an agent. So it's the first integration and the first agentic. And so I'm wowed.
What about privacy?
Yeah, because
that's an issue.
Yeah, because I got to tell you, the CEO of Perplexity said the reason we want to make a browser is so we can collect all those signals for advertising.
Well, it's more than that. It's the fact that I'm giving Perplexity access to my email.
Right.
You're giving, and you're not just giving to it so that you get a service for free. You're paying a lot of money to give Perplexity access to your email, your calendar, your browsing history, everything you do on.
Well, for now, they're putting it out to the $200 a month people, but they're opening up. They're giving people invitations. Please don't bug me for invitations, people. I don't even know if I have them yet. No, they're going to open it up beyond that. So it's not going to be a $200.
But for how long? Is my question. That seems like a complicated service to offer. It doesn't seem like they're able to offer it realistically for free to a lot of people, unless I guess the thing that is a benefit is just that they're able to sell your data and make money off of that by offering it up to or using it to target ads more effectively.
What's funny is they're not making any secret about it. This is the article from TechCrunch. Perplexity CEO says its browser will track everything users do online to sell hyper-personalized ads.
Hello, Marissa Meyer.
Not hyper-local, hyper-personalized ads. Aravind Srinivas was on we were just talking about TBPN podcast. Aravind, if you would do that, why wouldn't you do the #1 AI show in the world? You should come on our show and talk about it. Defend your point of view. He says, we plan to use all the context that we get as you use it to build a better user profile. And maybe, through our Discover feeds, we could show some ads there. That wouldn't be too bad. I mean, you don't have to look at the Discover feeds. I do frequently. It's actually a pretty good news source. Yeah. So Comet was going to be launched in May. It has finally come out in pre-release. So you have to get an invitation or pay for the super expensive version of Perplexity to get it. Perplexity
Someone said
was
in the chat
rumored
that they have access to it in their $20 a month account, though.
Oh, well, there is a wait list. So I signed up for
the wait list. Yeah, there's like 500,000 people on the wait list.
Yeah.
Go to the press department. Leo.
I hate doing that. You know me.
Well, you're not asking for something early. You're not asking for any special favors. You're just asking.
Hey, man, could you give me a copy, man? I don't know how I would know if I have it. I don't see anything that indicates I should have it. But I'm already using Perplexity quite heavily. Yeah. So I imagine I'm getting much of the function.
I think you're going to like it because it integrates in with the context of what you're doing.
I'll be honest. The reason I don't use Dia is because for me, browser functionality is important. Where the tabs are, how I can pin tabs, how I can lock things in.
This is Chromium, so it operates. Of course, you gave up Chrome a long time ago because you have to be special. But it's very familiar because it's Chromium.
So it does all those same.
It does all the things.
And here's the other reason I don't want to use it, because Chromium is now on Manifest v3, which doesn't support uBlock Origin, and Google in their infinite wisdom decided to kill ad blockers. I wonder why. Why would they want to do that? And,
well, you're robbing from. I'm going to do it. I haven't done this in 2 years. You're just trying to rob from content. Paris, you should yell at them. Because how do you support the good work of journalists like Paris Martineau except by supporting the advertising? When you take the advertising away, you're taking food out of her mouth.
I was just
say, I haven't worked for an ad-supported media company in a long while.
And I understand what you're saying. Look, we're ad-supported media. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I'm being pretty hypocritical about this. But a lot of these ads, there's a few things. One, they're so ridiculous that you can not even look at a page on mobile anymore because it's got sliding windows and videos opening and all this stuff. These ad networks, they haven't done it lately, but have in the past pushed malware. So there is a security thing, and there's definitely a bandwidth issue. There's a huge amount of bandwidth on these ads. So, I agree. I want to, so you turn off your ad blocker on sites for people you really like. The really good sites do what we do, which is their first party ads. They're not third party ads. Yeah. They're not ads inserted after the fact. They're ads, sold by, like, for instance, Daring Fireball, John Gruber, or Jason Snell, 6 Colors. Those ads come from their server, so ad blockers don't block them. They're first party ads, and those I have no problem with. I just have problems with ads that really take over the whole page, and they're ugly and they're risky.
So we're going to see a lot of these browser stories over the next few weeks. OpenAI working on its. As soon as a comment came out, we got one too. Google just announced today that they're adding more features in AI.
I don't like the AI enabled search results. Do you? Do you turn those on? Do you use those?
I find them completely useless.
They're terrible,
and uninteresting, and frankly, it's just another thing that I have to scroll by in order to get to what I'm actually looking for, which is increasingly the regular search results are like 2 to 3 lines on the first page of Google. It is from the bottom and top, I'm being attacked on all sides by sponsored links, AI search results, and things I didn't try to search for.
Well, good news. Next week, our guest will be Tulsi Doshi, Senior Director and Product Lead for Google's Gemini models. We're doing that recording tomorrow, right?
Right. So, but we're also going to have Stephen Johnson next week.
Is Stephen going to be on next week instead? And we'll do Tulsi the week after. I think that's... So we are going to record in public tomorrow. So actually, if you wanted to see our interview with Tulsi, we're doing that between 1 and 2 p.m. Pacific. Club members will get to watch that, and it'll be on the live stream. And then we'll roll that into the show either next week or the week after. I do want to talk to Stephen Johnson as soon as possible because he was scheduled for today's show. He has released NotebookLM, an update to NotebookLM that I think is really interesting. Yeah. Now, first of all, I like NotebookLM. It's a really clever idea. This is Google's Gemini applied to, in effect, RAG stuff you put in there. It
restricts itself to the content that you point it to.
Right. So, for instance, some time ago, I gave it Google's quarterly results and then said, okay, and then now you can ask questions about it. This is the one that does podcasts as well. Well, they've added a new feature, trusted sources. So if I say I want to create a new NotebookLM, I can choose sources from pre-selected trusted sources. So I can say what I'm interested in. Or here I'm feeling curious. It just gives you a random selection of authoritative sources in a random area. Let's see what I get here. This
a primer on prediction markets.
Prediction markets. So there are 10 sources. The Wall Street
all about
Journal.
Election betting. One of them's a YouTube video.
Yeah. Historical presidential betting markets, prediction markets, market integrity and manipulation from Wilmer Hale, Asterisk Magazine. So
I'm curious, did Asterisk give them access to their website, or was that?
I don't know. We'll have to ask Stephen.
Well, that's the other thing they announced is that The Economist and other sites have notebooks that they're sharing.
That was the most ominous crack of thunder I've ever heard live, Jeff. It sounded as if you were in a spooky mansion and you just said that this could be your last night.
I warned.
Big storm coming.
I warned that I have a big storm coming. Yes. So.
And you're on the generator now?
Well, I bought my wife a UPS because she teaches class right now. I should have bought myself one too because I've got the router is on UPS. The house is on generator.
I tell you, it was the scariest thing this morning. Half an hour before Windows Weekly, I came up here, turned on the lights, and everything went.
Jeez,
it was pitch black in the attic, and I thought
because there's so many lights in that attic.
Oh yeah, well,
I don't think it's ever been dark before.
I don't know what happened. Anyway, I think we got it fixed, but that's one of the reasons I have trouble showing my screen is everything's a little kerfluckled here. I don't know what. I don't know how any of this works.
Are you only on one circuit up there? Are you only on one circuit up there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's probably why.
No, there's plenty of amps. It's not that. It's never happened before. It's just something. This house is a mess.
Leo's house is so cute. It's full of crystals.
It is, Lisa. You noticed that Lisa has a lot of.
It's a new house, right?
It's a very new house.
It's brand new, and unfortunately, we're tearing it apart now because it was poorly constructed and is leaking.
Oh no,
Paris! I didn't even show you Paris, but the whole south wall is off.
Oh no!
Yeah,
that's not good.
Not good.
Wow,
not good. And then they as often happens with construction, they did the demolition right away. They're good at that. They're good at tearing down.
Yeah. But putting it back together.
3 weeks, we haven't seen a soul. It's like they disappeared. They tore off the side and then disappeared.
They all have ADD.
Yeah, I think so. It's an Adobe thing, and they took the Adobe off to see what was underneath, and what was underneath was a lot of leaks and stuff. So now they tell us we have to take all the windows out, all the sliding glass doors out, reseal everything, put everything back in, and then we're saying, well, maybe we don't want to stucco it again because if I don't want to have to.
Is there a house warranty in California?
Oh yeah, 10 years, but the builder is refusing to honor it. So.
We sued our builder, and then he said, "I'm judgment proof." I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "I got nothing."
Yeah, that's basically. I mean, we're probably gonna. Yeah, I don't want to go into detail. No. We're attempting to recover. We'll see if we have any shot at it.
We can't talk about Paris's new job or Leo's suits.
It's literally going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. My retirement. And here's something I'll tell you, kids. You young people, you're putting all that money away from retirement, and it's tax-free when you put it in, right? That 401k, that IRA.
Yeah, all that money that we're saving.
Guess what? As soon as you take it out, they tax the hell out of it. And basically, I'm at a point where, I have to take out twice as much as I need because the government's going to get half of whatever I take out. So I thought, I got a nice nest egg. I should be fine. I realized, no, you don't. Especially if you have to spend it rebuilding the house you just bought. Okay.
I think we'll be making podcasts for a little while.
That's
now.
We're gonna have to that is the good news, is that I can never retire. I have to keep working until.
But folks, you've got to recommend this podcast with 5-star reviews so we get more people.
Do you have any 5-star reviews, Paris?
I do, yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. You can share some 5-star reviews. I will share this new Chromebook, which I did not buy for myself, but I bought for my daughter, who is a Chromebook fanatic, and she used her last Chromebook so much. Yeah, she's a Chrome head. She used her last Chromebook so much that the question mark key and the S key fell off. So in order to type a question mark or an S, she has to copy and paste it in. I said, honey, you need a new laptop. She said, oh, no, it's fine.
Did you get to meet Abby, Paris?
Alas, no, I did not.
Like ships that pass in the night. She came in after you left.
I thought we'd be a match set. You'd see Abby, and I saw Hank.
She's in New York right now. She's trying to get a sandwich. Apparently, Henry's sold out.
I might see her there.
Even for his sister, he's sold out.
Wow.
All right. Before we get to the picks of the week, which are coming up next, I do want to mention our club and all the great stuff coming up in Club TWiT. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, Club TWiT members will see our interview with Tulsi Doshi, Senior Director and Product Lead for Gemini Models. Wow, from Google. That's a great get. We are also tomorrow going to be doing, tonight, I'm sorry, we're doing Micah's Crafting Corner, a little cozy crafting. So if you've got a little something going on, maybe some knitting or sewing, Micah usually does Lego. I'm not sure what he's doing this time. I did some cooking last time. Please join us tonight right after the show for Micah's Crafting Corner, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Let's see what else is coming up. Oh, we're going to do Richard Campbell's PC build. He's got all the parts. He's going to build a new PC, and we're going to watch him do it. On Friday, the RAM didn't come, so we're going to put that off till next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. Home Theater Geeks records in the club. The AI user group is the first Friday of every month. We've got Stacy's book club coming up August 8th, a really good book, which is not too late to pick up and read. This is How You Lose the Time War. It's amazing. It's a short, it's like a novella. It's not really long. So please, if you want, join us for that. That's August 8th. Right after that, same day, photo time with Chris Marquardt, our word of the week, our word of the month classic. The Made by Google event is coming up August 20th. That's Google's announcement of their new Pixel phones, I believe. So we're going to cover that live Wednesday, August 20th, 10 a.m. Pacific. All of this club only, okay? We do stream it live. Some of these things, for instance, Home Theater Geeks, hands on Apple, hands on Windows, we put out audio publicly because we want you to have the content. But you have to be in the club if you want to get the video. And if you're not there for the live event, then you have to watch on the TWiT Plus feed, which is club only. So there are some real reasons to join the club. Also, if you don't like ads, you don't have to feel guilty about skipping them. Just join Club TWiT, $10 a month, and you won't ever hear another ad. Even this plug, you won't hear again because you're donating. We don't really need to show you ads. No tracking, no ads, nothing.
If you're a little freak who wants to hear the ads anyway, but also wants to support the club, you can do both. Because I know people are out there who've said that they want to both support the club and hear the ad reads because they think they're fun. You can contain multitudes if you.
Yes, isn't that nice? You can do both. We even have a feed on the Discord called All the Ads, which is just the ads. If you really like ads, what else? Anyway, please join the club. It really makes a difference to us. It's 25% of our operating costs. Doesn't go into my pocket. Doesn't go to Lisa's pocket. It goes to Micah,
my pocket,
Jeff, and Benito and Paris and all the people who do
and Leo's contractor.
Yeah, no, it won't go into his pocket. Not if I can help it. Twit.tv
He's judgment proof.
I'm judgment proof. What do you want? Twit.tv/TWiT. All right, Paris. Oh, should I? Let me start. I'll start with this just because it's.
Let me do a review read first, really quick, and then we can go to the picks.
Oh yes, give us a 5-star.
This is a 5-star review from Joseph Patrick of our podcast on Apple Podcast. If you want your review shouted out in the show, leave us a good review, and if it's funny or interesting, maybe I'll shout it out. This is an ad from Joseph Patrick who says, interesting take here. As much as I like the Craig Newmark jingle, JJ no longer works there. I suggest the jingle be replaced with a jingle for Suni. Can I suggest ripping off the Sega Genesis start sounds and replacing Sega with Suni? Now, while I personally do not have the talent or know how to create such a jingle, I hear that the host of this show are good friends with several intelligent machines who have such talents. Perhaps a jingle competition is in order, says Joseph Patrick. So, do you have jingle suggestions? Do you think the jingle should be something different? Do you think we should keep the same one?
I love it that it's a new way to communicate with us is leaving us a review.
Leave us a review and I'll at the very least read it and decide whether to read it in the show.
Yeah,
I do like the idea. I like the Suni. That's pretty good.
Suni, like Sega.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, like Sega.
Sega, Suni. Somebody did an AI Craig Newmark with a heavenly choir here in Discord, but I can't play it because I can't play the audio.
Well, wait a second. Well, can you just play it loud on the computer and then put your mic?
We can't open this can of worms again. We're not unmuting. We're not unmuting that computer.
I cannot do it. I cannot. All
right, give us your pick,
You can play it
Leo.
for yourself. So Jeff saw these at the Google event, the Chromebook event. This is it's actually a whole new platform, the Chromebook Plus platform, which makes the Chromebook an AI device.
Well, the Plus has been around for a couple of years now, but this is the Lenovo version is the AI
This has 16 gigs of RAM. It has a new processor from MediaTek called the Companio, which has an NPU in it. It also has a 60 TOPS engine, and it is able, apparently, you get a free Gemini Pro account.
Yep.
It's able to do, you can even see it. There's the Gemini icon right there in the menu bar. You also get a year of 2 terabytes storage on Google Drive. That's pretty common with Chromebooks. This one is about $750. Has a touch screen. It's a beautiful OLED touch screen. I mean, it is really gorgeous. 2 pounds, very light, 18-hour battery life, and a fingerprint reader, which I really like. I got tired of entering my PIN or my password every time when I log into my Chromebook. So this makes it secure. It's got that nice soft touch keyboard Chromebooks are famous for. I like the keyboard. It's very thin, very light.
And this is huge for me. Absolutely huge for me. Fanless.
Yes, nice and
quiet. The old
quiet.
Samsung I had was just louder than a jet engine.
I can. Shall I call into the show so you can see the camera?
What does it retail for?
$749 or $649 without a touch screen and less memory.
Hey, that's less than an iPhone.
Yeah, it's not the
high end HP that was out there for a while was $2,400.
And Google was selling $1,000 Chromebooks for a long time.
Yeah. I bought a couple of them.
I am going to call into the meeting so you can see. The camera's not great. We're
gonna have 3 times the echo somehow. We have 3 versions of Leo in this meeting.
Leo.
Yeah, Leo. Laporte.
All right.
Leo.
Now,
okay, you need to mute that one. You gotta mute that one.
This.
All right. I don't know where it's coming.
Now you're totally.
And I'll talk on this one.
Okay, there you go.
Can you see it, Benito?
I can see it.
Yeah.
Well, Benito has to pick it. There it is. So it's not the best camera ever, but it's okay. It's a little low res.
You get to see the forbidden top shelves of Leo's setup.
Yes. I showed this to Paris. I said, yeah, nobody ever sees these. I set it up, but nobody ever sees them. Mm-hmm. It's excess hat storage on the top shelf there. So I think it's for this price, this is a great choice. Abby loves Chromebooks because she doesn't ever worry about losing your data. It's all on Google Drive, so it's all safe. Yep. I know you love Chromebooks. It has Android, of course, Android capability. And you did see that Samir Samat said, yeah, we're merging Chrome and Android sometime in the future. And I imagine that these newer models will have the capability to do that. You'll get the new operating system. I think a nice job.
It is a nice job. Yeah.
And you've ordered it. You got it.
I haven't. I
haven't set it up yet.
I was out of town most of this week, and I didn't want to try to take a new machine with me, so I want to.
$650 for an OLED laptop is pretty nice. Yeah, the screen is nice.
Beautiful screen. I'm really happy. Abby has trouble with LEDs and the flickering. It gives her migraines, so she can only use OLED laptops. So when this came out, I said, that's great. It
what was the model she beat
an S? It also has an S and a question mark.
Yeah. What was the one that
it was one of the Google Chromebooks.
Was one,
yeah. So it's been around for some years. It's taken a lot of guff. Paris Martineau, what do you have for us, young lady?
I have some pics from my road trip I just did, and a couple. One thing I was trying to use ChatGPT a bit during this to give me ideas for things to do. Not that I already kind of had an itinerary, but I wanted to play around with it, see how good it was. I did enjoy kind of the things that I used deep research on their 4.5 model. And I found that when I, actually went in with a very detailed request for certain cities was kind of useful. The other thing that I used AI for on this trip that I found somewhat useful was using the voice mode as I was either walking around places or driving, just to ask questions about my environment. If I was driving and couldn't look something up. And I mean, I think my overall take as I was reflecting on this, because I tried to use it fairly frequently because I was traveling solo, it was kind of interesting to have something to talk to me about stuff like bridges or Portland history. Portland was one of my first stops. And one example I think that it kind of exemplifies how I felt about this was I was walking across in Northeast Portland. I was trying to get ChatGPT to like tell me about the history of Northeast Portland. And my first problem is that all of the answers were way too short and not very detailed. And so I went in, kind of changed the custom instructions, was asking it to be like 500 to 700 word answers, and that was very hard for it at first. It had a very hard time actually responding to my answer of be detailed about it. But eventually I did get some responses that led me to an interesting figure in Portland, this guy Stewart Holbrook, who one of the, I guess, details in Portland is that there are these things called the Shanghai tunnels that all the Portland tour guides say are these networks of tunnels underneath Portland where back in the day old sailors would be basically abducted from bars and forced to work on ships if they were abducted while drinking. And
this guy looks like somebody who would make up stories like
so
that. I gotta tell you.
It ends up, I was asking ChatGPT, like, okay, well, is this true? And it's like, well, no, some people say it was like invented by this guy, Stewart Holbrook. And I kept trying to get ChatGPT to tell, I was like, what do you mean it's invented by this guy? Like, tell me more. And it could tell me a couple lines of detail, but not any of the detail I wanted. So I did some research and found this phenomenal article that I would really recommend, written by a Portland and Oregon historian, Joe Streckert, called Stewart Holbrook, Portland Mythmaker.
This is on Substack?
It's on Substack. This guy wrote a Substack called Why is Portland Like That? And
that's a great idea. Talk about hyper-local. That's awesome.
It is an incredibly detailed, kind of almost historical, like research paper and also self-memoir about this really interesting figure in Oregonian history. This guy basically kind of pioneered this genre of like local National Enquirer style journalism that like blended myth and reality and kind of captured the mind of people in like the late 1800s and like turn of the century. And so I don't know, would really recommend that if anybody's just looking for an interesting historical deep dive, I'd really recommend this Substack that's no longer publishing, but it has quite a lot of really interesting articles that I then PDF'd and put into ChatGPT and had it read to me while I was driving around.
Oh, that's smart.
It was one I think of the perfect examples of using these tools it's kind of like a diet soda in the sense that like it was good for getting an overview of something, directing you to maybe a figure that I wanted to know more about. But when I wanted to get really good research and the sort of anecdote rich, narrative rich reporting, I had to go to a real human who knew.
So what you could have done is you could have beforehand thought of this and put a whole bunch of resources in a NotebookLM and then had it do a podcast for you. And then enter into the podcast and ask the podcast hosts questions about the material.
Could have done that,
driving.
yes.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
We can ask Stephen about that next week.
We will.
There is coming at some point you know who Dennis Crowley is? He's the guy who created Foursquare.
Oh, he's great. Wonderful guy.
He has a new project called Bebot, which is an audio-based guide that you listen to. They're developing it. I'm actually on the Discord channel. You can get a test flight version of it. I haven't played with it yet because it's not available in my neighborhood. But the idea would be that this Bebot you'd put it in your ears. It's an audio first city guide.
He's always been about locality.
Yeah, it's a really great idea, and Denz is the guy to do it. So I'll be very curious to see what happens with that, because that's your idea is great. In fact, I used something like that when we were in Hawaii. I downloaded, and there are apps that are audio guides that you're driving around, and it says turn left here for the best shave ice on the whole island and stuff like that. And it's like having this chatty old grandpa in your back seat telling you, over there is where King Kamehameha lost his head. It's just crazy stuff.
I do one of the main things I ended up using ChatGPT for on this trip was asking about cool bridges I was going over.
I know. Jeff
I know. I'm so sorry to mention this, Jeff. But there were some really cool like Art Deco bridges, and it turned out that all of them were like made by the same guy. The ones that I kept pointing out or wanted to know questions.
Had any of them fallen?
Not that I know of. Some of them were drawbridges, though. I don't know if that makes it worse.
The bridges that fall are very rare and few and far between. I know you need to take off, Paris. I'm going to let you go if you want. I don't know.
It's okay. I've got 15 more minutes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Well, in that case, let's get Jeff's pick of the week.
Oh, so I could have done something creepy. I could have done the people who are marrying their AIs.
Marrying them? Is that
marrying
legal?
the AIs. I could have, well, in a manner of speaking, I could have done the really creepy eugenicist Silicon Valley people pushing super babies and doing all of that.
I saw that today in the Washington Post. They're doing genetic prediction services for embryos. Elon's done it.
And Peter Thiel is backing it.
Oh,
but instead, I found a wonderful column in the New York Times, which I don't say very often these days, by Leif Weatherby, I presume it's pronounced Leif, who has a book that I just started reading, an academic book called Language Machines, which is really interesting. And he's a director of the Digital Theory Lab at New York University. And his point of all of this is that LLMs should be seen as simply fun. If we peel away everything else that everything is promised about it, it's going to change the world, it's going to change all this. If from the beginning we just saw it as entertainment,
that's not a bad idea.
It's a good idea.
But
it's a really good
they're
idea.
not going to be given like hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to something that's just fun and entertainment.
But they also
I know the video game industry is pretty big, actually.
Yeah, but the video game industry isn't raising the sort of valuations and raising the sort of capital that OpenAI is getting.
Because it's actually valued at that. It's not raising that.
That's right. Just it's Life's not saying this because OpenAI should pay attention. He's saying it so we should just have the right idea about all this. It's just for fun.
Yeah.
Don't
and
marry
I would agree
it.
with that. I think like this trip was the most I've casually ever used AI, just because
it's not bad, is it?
I've never said it's bad. I just don't think it is the most valuable thing that has ever and will ever be invented. I think that's just a foolish statement to say about anything. But I think this is a perfect argument, because I think it's the most useful for low stakes things. Like I was hiking the redwoods and I was like, why is the bark looking like that? And something answered me in a voice chat instantly, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It said, "Hey Paris, you're looking great today."
Yeah.
That bark is
Jesus Christ.
That's what made me so mad.
I immediately spritz my cell phone with water.
Maybe so holy water. This is good. AI is just fun.
It's just
for fun.
Enjoy it.
And so is this show. It's just for fun.
Yeah.
We do Intelligent Machines every Wednesday, right after Windows Weekly, which, if the whiskey segment doesn't go on too long,
we always ask. Whenever Paris and I come in, we always ask Benito, are they on the whiskey yet?
And he's always like, no. No.
That's not in and of itself enough, because you don't know how long. Today, I was a little nervous because Richard started with the 16th century history of Great Britain.
That's a bad sign. It's a bad sign.
It was about 300, 400 years before we actually got to whiskey. So, yeah.
And by the way, that's my exposure to Richard, is waiting for him to finish the whiskey segment. When we had him on the show, he was delightful. I loved having him on the show.
Richard is one of the smartest people.
Great.
He's an autodidact. You say, learn everything you can know about bridges, and tomorrow he'll give you a 3-hour keynote on it. I mean, he's really good. So yes, I love Richard, and I love his whiskey segments. But anyway, right after Richard's whiskey segment, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2100 UTC. You can watch us live in the club, of course, on the Club Twit Discord, but you can also watch on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn.
You've been hanging around with Grok too much.
I got an idea for a new social network. Anyway,
I was going to say, that little fox has gotten its mind wrapped around you.
Or Kick. And if you don't watch live, you can get a copy of the show from the website, twit.tv/IM for Intelligent Machines. We are also on YouTube. Best thing to know is subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, because that's where you will find us. And if you do, leave us a fun 5-star review. The wonderful Paris Martineau might read it. Yes.
And Leo might listen to it.
Tones.
And if you have an entrant to the "What Should the Next Jingle Be" competition, leave that in a 5-star review somehow.
Nowadays with Suno, I mean, anybody can create great,
or post it on social media and tag Twit.
Post it on social media and tag us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like those jingles. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we do.
We used in the early days of Twit, we had a number of really good musicians who would make them.
Also, if you're a really good musician or have casual access to a choir and would like to compose a jingle the old-fashioned way, that will put you a couple leagues ahead of the competition.
That Craig Newmark jingle's real people, isn't it? It's not.
It is real people, and that's the reason why it's going to be hard pressed to replace it. You're going to have to try and beat that. So challenge out there.
A heavenly choir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paris Martineau. We'll learn next week about Paris's new job, I think.
It's a good gig.
If the government doesn't come and take us all down for you squealing on the CIA involvement earlier in this show.
I know. I'm sorry.
It might be the end of all of us.
She has to kill us now.
I'm sorry.
She would be a good secret agent.
She would be.
She just seems like she's
because you trust her.
Yeah.
It's true.
She's got.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a secret agent already. That's for sure. There's no way that would be the case.
You look like you're dressed up and ready to go have a martini.
Yeah, she's going out.
I'm allegedly supposed to have a rooftop beer, but the fact that it's 1,000,000 degrees outside and about to pour makes me believe that will be an indoor beer.
That thunder that you heard in just outside Bedminster is coming your way.
It's coming my way.
Coming your way. That's Jeff Jarvis. He's in New Jersey. Not his fault. He teaches.
Don't hold it against him.
Hey,
my whole family's from New Jersey. What do you want? Montclair State University, SUNY Stony Brook, and at a bookstore near you. Get your copy of magazine and the Web We Weave and the Gutenberg parenthesis now in paperback. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Paris. Thanks to all our club members who make this show possible. We will see you next week right here on Intelligent Machines. Bye-bye.